context of white supremacy. Gus T Renegade in for another program, hopefully to share constructive information on racism, white supremacy, what it is, and how it works. Thank you, everybody, for supporting the broadcast. Justice's email, justice.asap@yahoo.com. Again, justice.asap@yahoo.com. Two of the investors, actually 3 of the investors and the cows, want to make sure I plug their blogs. ebonynewschannel.blogspot.com. Again, ebonynewschannel.blogspot.com. Back of the bus, nonwhitealliance.wordpress.com. Again, nonwhitealliance.wordpress.com. Finally, Counter Racist Evolving Engineer, her blog, Cree7.wordpress.com. Again, Cree7.wordpress.com. Her blog, her Counter Racist broadcast right here at Blog Talk Radio. Before we get started, I want to say I am thankful that this is the last episode of the Boondocks. I think last episode ever. This is supposed to be the final season, last episode. I'm glad this is the last time I'll be doing a broadcast on a cartoon. I look forward to having my own computer, specifically my own MacBook Pro, so that we can do regular installments on counter-violence, so that hopefully we will be just as comfortable and interested in having serious dialogue about Area Number 9 war, for sure. A few things before I get started. Thank everybody for investing in the program. I hope it has been worthy of the investments. We are closing in. Not quite there, but got a very generous investment on Saturday, August 14th, and right now we are $288 away from Gus T Renegade having the necessary funds to purchase his MacBook Pro carrying case whole 9. I am just looking forward to continuing to be active. It should be much easier for me to do programs, having my own broadcast. And as I said, I'll be doing a regular counter-violence broadcast once a week. So should stabilize things, I'll finally be able to take Mr. Edward Williams' advice and schedule one show, one day a week, set time, so that everybody will know this is at least one day that you can tune into the cows, and then have random shows for the other days. But at least one day every week, same time, same channel, context of white supremacy. But thank you, everybody who has invested. I will do the roll call once I get the MacBook Pro, and I will try to make an offer to folks who invested, keep them, hopefully keep them attached to the show and committed, hopefully, if we're doing something constructive here. But that'll, just stay tuned, that'll be coming up. Again, broadcast number 199. Yeah, and it might be 199 broadcasts of foolishness and non-constructive information. That could be, but for a black male victim of white supremacy to be able to get in 199 broadcasts without a phone or a computer.
Double whammy.
I'll take that. Also wanted to make sure I mentioned it on the Saturday broadcast with Kevin McDonald. I know some people told me that they had problems accessing that episode. I hope that has been resolved. It is up. I've reloaded my computer and everything, and I've been able to access it. It's on iTunes. You should be able to download it through iTunes. If you have any difficulties, let me know. If that ever happens with accessing an archived episode, just shoot me an email, untiljustice@gmail.com, and I'll see what I can do. And you should also pester the white people at Blog Talk Radio. Shoot them an email and let them know, one of my favorite programs here at Blog Talk Radio, I'm having problems accessing the archives. This is frustrating my experience with Blog Talk Radio. Could you assist me in correcting this problem? and those white people should get on it. They, if they're not racist white supremacists. Yes. Also, what I wanted to mention, All in the Family. I got that from researching Kevin McDonald in his report, a different report, Why We Write, where he's kind of justifying the work that he does. But he mentioned an episode of All in the Family. It's season 4, episode 10 of All in the Family. For folks who, this is before my time, right? This came out before I was born, but it came on in like the early 70s, and Archie Bunker, he's like classic racist, probably one of the most beloved television characters of all time. I don't think that is an exaggeration at all. And he's known for being the laughable, dumb racist. Regular, old, white guy, stupid, doesn't know anything, racist. At any rate, I think the Jeffersons spun off of All in the Family, and it's a really popular show. Anyway, but season 4, episode 10, Archie in the Cellar. He gets trapped in the basement, gets drunk, is kind of leaving his last will and testament, calling on the Lord, and someone does hear him, comes and opens the garage door, cellar door, so that he can get out, and it happens to be a black male. And Archie Bunker, arch racist, thinks that God has rescued him, so he thinks it's the Lord come to save him, so he turns around and sees this huge black male, and he is totally stupefied, ends up on his knees bowing to what he thinks is God, this black male, and the crowd is just in hysterics. You got to watch this. It's on YouTube. You can see the whole episode. Just do a YouTube search for All in the Family, Archie in the Basement or Archie in the Cellar, and you should be able to see the whole episode. It is, man, incredible. Next, Bond Trader. I wrote down your contact information. I had your number. Well, actually, I didn't write it down. I put it on the computer, but it got cleared. If you could just shoot me an email, forgive my niggerishness, and I'll correct it. My email is untiljustice@gmail.com. The people who contacted me, I have their information. I can shoot it to you. Just shoot me an email. If you call into the program today, I'll have it. If you're listening now, just call the program, and I'll have it. No worries. But if you listen to the archive or anything, please shoot me an email, untiljustice@gmail.com. We'll definitely work out getting you on the program, and I will forward you the information for the folks who have contacted me. Thank you, and I'm sure they will thank you as well. We will be back on Wednesday. This is filling a request. Filling a request. Scotty Reed, he's the founder of the Black Talk Radio Network. He heard the program. I think he called in, too, the program with Pam, one of the co-authors of Trojan Horse, Death of a Dark Nation. And we were talking about the incorrect nature and victimization that goes with tragic arrangements, sexual intercourse between white people and non-white people. And Mr. Scotty Reed, he said that offline he requested that I do a program on what happened with Montana Fishburne. And he said that he just felt that was very incorrect, and he thinks that there's a lot of confusion that white people are pushing on black people, and particularly with regards to this sexual confusion. And he wanted me to do a program on this. And I said, sure. So we're going to do it on Wednesday. It'll be Wednesday, put up my calendar, Wednesday, August 18th. Wednesday, August 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. It should be Gus T Renegade, Justice, and Pam, co-author of Trojan Horse, Death of a Dark Nation. We'll be discussing the recent happenings with Montana Fishburne and the sex tape that she did with 2 white men, suspected white supremacists. And we'll be discussing Omar Thornton, the black male in Connecticut who executed, I believe it's 8 suspected white supremacists and took his own life. We'll be talking about both of those events and the common thread. That's the common thread. That's the common thread. The white sex assault, Omar Thornton, Montana Fishburne, Wednesday, August 18th. And if things stand, that will be broadcast number 200 here at the Context of White Supremacy. So, wow, looking forward to that. Something might happen before then, but if not, that'll be broadcast 200. Tune in Wednesday should be constructive. I think Scotty Reed will be dropping in. He said he wanted to comment. He felt that the cows would be a better broadcast to talk about that. I don't know what that means. I didn't take it as a jab or anything, but I did find it funny that he felt the cows would be better suited for such content. But Wednesday we'll be doing that. Anybody that calls in, we already have kind of a full switchboard. Anybody that calls in, if you heard the broadcast with Kevin McDonald, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, feedback, thoughts about the broadcast. I was really excited about that going down, particularly once I was able to pull the program off, because he kind of scoffed at first. He didn't really want to do the broadcast with a Negro. But, yeah, I'm interested to hear what folks thought about that, if they felt it was constructive, if he was just practicing racism, if it was a waste of your time to tune into such an effort. So jot them down, keep some notes, and I'm curious to hear feedback about yesterday. This is last time. There was, I referenced this yesterday. There was a caller, and I've noted this throughout the broadcast. We've done a lot of programs here, and sometimes people, they get kind of fresh in the comment section, which is why I don't have a chat room, because it would be like 1,000 times worse with suspected racists coming in the chat room and just causing conflict and disruptions, and it just becomes a major distraction. And I see that even still happening with the comments. But last time I'll be addressing this set of comments, and comments for a while. I don't think it's constructive to get too tied up into a lot of, he said, she said on the internet. But the gentleman, he had said that from the broadcast earlier in the week, he said, and that broadcast was from, I believe, Thursday, August 12th, with illiteracy. He said that we were praising white people and that we needed to get some damn self-esteem, and we were just making it sound like white people were the bomb. And I commented, I shared, my thoughts on the comments over the weekend with the program with Professor Kevin McDonald. And the gentleman, he responded. And I asked him to come on the program. I've asked him more than once because he's been a long-time listener. He's been listening here for over a year and has frequently left comments and what have you. So, but he responded with his comments to what was said on the Saturday broadcast. And he said that apparently I missed his point. Okay, I was saying, this is him talking, I was saying we are in a messed up position, but belittling self and praising white people only makes them feel like gods. It's like being their personal cheerleader. They master evil and are more united. That's why they're in control. But to say they are great, I don't think so. They just have the muscle, and using the white woman comments don't change what's true. Besides, I haven't slept with any. I'm not going to praise them. If you want to go ahead, people counter racism different ways. Very true. Very true. And if you hold up sleeping with white people, I can hold up you interviewing them. It's like an excuse to be in contact with them, because at the end of the day, they're racist. He said that with a question mark. I'm giving myself 4 minutes and then I'm done, because I don't want to encourage non-white people bickering. And I'm not bickering now. I'm just, I like it when people get fresh in the comment section sometimes. Again, all this would end with, number one, I'm not sure what this person means by praising. And in fact, and I hope this serves as a great illustration as to why you don't want to get too caught up. Anybody, if you do public work against racism, white supremacy, or if you choose to do it at all, don't get too caught up in what people have to say about your effort, because it can snowball. It can snowball and just eat up a lot of time and energy. Get at these white people. I'd much rather be working on my life goals for the next year. I need to make sure I share those too so I can get help. I would much rather be focused on my life goals for the next year as opposed to dealing with what people have to say. But since I said this person has been listening to the program for a year, context. context. I love context. That's why I say look at the entire body of work. Now, this same person said, I'm rewinding. This is all the way back on July 14th, 2009, okay? That's the Cal 199 broadcast. This person's been listening a lot. He left a lot of comments. On July 14th, 2009, this same person on the code.net on the forum for Jessica Pettit, her first trip to the context of white supremacy back last July, admitted white supremacist Jessica Pettit. The same person said, he was referencing that program, this was very constructive. I appreciate what you are doing. I feel you're good at it too. You really stay on task and don't get sucked in worshiping the so-called anti-racist just because they verbally admit they are white supremacists and that the system exists. I thought that was very interesting, his choice of words. To say that he likes the program, felt the broadcast was constructive specifically because I don't get sucked into worshiping white people. But now I'm being criticized for worshiping white people for saying they dominate us. I don't even recall saying that white people are great. I simply said that white people dominate and smack non-white people around worldwide. I think that's why folks were stomping up and down in the streets in Oakland about Oscar Grant. A few years ago, it was Rodney King or whoever else you want to talk about. That's what white supremacy means. I think that's what I said. Now, if that's praising white people, whatever you mean, and again, folks listening in, this is how you diffuse a lot of this too. What do you mean when you say praise? Clear definition on that. If stating fact that white people dominate us as they do in a system of white supremacy, if that's praise, well, I'm guilty. But I did want to point out that a year ago, you were even very clear that I was not worshiping white people. And I would tell everybody listening to the program, we've done almost 200 programs. You can go back and evaluate for yourself based on the programs I've done with white people. A ton of them have been here. Evaluate for yourself if you think, I am worshiping, praising, sucking up to white people, because that could be true. That could be true. And he said that if you want to hold up sleeping with white people, I can hold you up for interviewing them. You have a public record, so everybody can scrutinize my conduct with white people. You have almost 200 programs to scrutinize my conduct and see if that's what's happening with white people. I would challenge you to just make a record of when you have contact with white people, even if it gets sexual, because you left a lot of comments about that. So I would just say make a public record of it. Either record it, video camera, and then we can evaluate if your conduct is, worshiping white people or if it's constructive towards countering racism, because you did say people counter racism in different ways. So maybe it's much to do about nothing, all this jabber about not having sex with white people. You seem to think, well, you said that you can't commit to not doing that, Maybe you can try it out and effectively counter racism. Just leave us a public record so we can scrutinize and evaluate for ourselves. There. Done with the comments for the day. And, have fun. I don't really get bent out of shape about any of that craziness. I shouldn't say craziness. That's dismissive. I don't really get that worked up over, what people have to say in the comments and chat room generally. From time to time it bothers me, but I'm getting much better about that and just ignore that stuff. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. I'll read the comments. I'm sure he'll have more to say this time. I'll read the comments, but I won't bring them on air. And I wanted to connect because this same person, he has written a lot of comments about the difficulties, it's tied to having sex with white women, the difficulties of forming constructive relationships with black females. And I would have to say, number one, just throwing out, this is my suggestion, throw it in the trash, whatever. It has been my experience that the black females who are serious about replacing white supremacy with justice immediately, a quick way to upset them and turn them off is to appear as though you're kind of wishy-washy and on the fence about having sex with white women. I have found that is a big turnoff, that really does not get you many cool points with black females. So anybody out there, particularly I'm talking to black males, if you are into counter racism and you want to have constructive contact, constructive relationships with black females, I would say be real definitive about being opposed to having sex with white women. That would be my suggestion. You can try it the other way. I mean, I don't know, maybe somebody can pull it off and make it work, but it's been my observation. Sister Nefertari, Pam, Trojan Horse, caller from 818, Cree. Most of the females that Dr. Welsing, most of the females that I know that are serious, Aisha Sekhmet, she says she's not even going to her own sister's wedding because she's marrying a white person. It's been my experience that that's one big turnoff. So that would be my suggestion. And I would say, I just told a black female this a couple days ago, that should be a major part of our gauge in determining whether or not we're being effective in countering racism. You should be able, I've said repeatedly, I think black male and black female relationships, that is where our damage and trauma is most vividly on display. Black male and black female relationships, and I mean sexual relationships, and I mean mother, son, father, daughter. You really get to see that trauma lit up big time, most vividly. And countering racism should be correcting that. So what I'm saying is it should be even evident on a personal level, right? You should begin to see small improvements with the contact that you have with the opposite sex black person. And I can say I have experienced that. I have really seen a dramatic increase in the amount of not just contact, but constructive contact that I have with black females as a result of doing the program, whether they call the program, whether they contact me, email or what have you after the program, investments. Black females I've really developed a lot of healthy, constructive relationships with black females through doing this. And I think that's most likely true for anybody that's working against racism, white supremacy. You'll just be having contact with black females who have that same goal in mind and just want to see you do well, and you want to see them do well. And that has been a real nice side benefit, for sure. I have enjoyed it immensely, and I think a lot of that is because I'm very clear about the no sex with white women. In fact, I've heard that repeatedly from a lot of the black females that I've talked to, that they really appreciate and respect that. So that would be my one suggestion to any black male. You are really interested in having better relationships, better contact with black females. Really come down hard on that no sex with white women and replacing white supremacy with justice. If you're doing something constructive, I think you'll attract black females to you. That's been my experience, and I've seen it with others. My 2 cents, whatever. The Boondocks. I don't know if everybody got to see tonight's episode. Program started early. I like starting it a little early because I know it's late for some people on either coast, really, at this point. Tonight's episode, it's going down. It was interesting. It didn't really blow me away if this is the last episode of the Boondocks. Really didn't knock me off my feet per se. There were some very interesting tidbits in the episode. I will actually postpone my commentary on tonight's broadcast and rewind to last week, because last week I think was real important. Last week, the episode, The Color Ruckus, important for so many reasons. Important because that episode you get a lot of the background on Uncle Ruckus's character and why he behaves the way he does, why he has such venom for black people. Real important episode, and the whole spoofing off of The Color Purple. You hear it in the title, and then if you watch the episode, you can see it. They also did a kind of quick play on The Curious Case of Benjamin Buttons. The whole part in the beginning where the white guy takes Ruckus, the baby, and leaves him on the step with some money. That's lifted straight from Curious Case of Benjamin Buttons, where a black person comes out and is, thrilled to death to take care of this white child. Yeah. Anyway, I have quite a few clips from last week's episode. I feel like sometimes the best thing you can do is just let the evidence speak for itself. And I want to emphasize, Aaron McGruders, he might be totally informed of racism, white supremacy. That could be. It could be that racist white supremacists simply disrupted his effort. He felt like he just couldn't do what he wanted to do with the cartoon, with the Boondocks, and decided to walk after 3 seasons. That could have happened. I'm not saying that he is, ultimately responsible in a system of white supremacy. Racist white supremacists are ultimately most to blame, even for him being a victim of white supremacy in the first place and having to respond to white supremacy. Racist man, racist woman, most to blame. So again, I'm definitely not attacking Aaron McGruders. I'm just evaluating, the material on television, which I think is important. Have your thinking cap on. A lot of people watch the Boondocks. I've been a long-time fan myself. And I just think it's important to evaluate, to pay attention to the things that get scanned across your retina. I'm going to just run through the sound clips and kind of let it speak for itself. I'll offer a tidbit here and there. And, after I get done with this, we'll kind of see where we're at time-wise. A lot of people on the phone lines. I will get folks on so they can share their thoughts, commentary. But, we'll kick it off with sound clips. This is from last week's episode, Season 3, Episode 14, The Color Ruckus. And real quick, again, this is another one, I guess. I hope you can open up a separate tab and you can see, make that request. Open up a separate tab so you can look at the images rolling by. It shouldn't be as disturbing as when it was a lot of homosexual content, when we were breaking down a lot of the so-called gay activity in the Boondocks from earlier this season. But open up a separate tab. I have a lot of images from last week's episode, and there are a couple from this week as well that are significant. I just saw one that are significant. I'll share my comments on the 2 episodes I included from this week. I got 3. I'll have to do the 3. Okay. Separate tabs so you can see the images that go with last week. That'll be kind of important as you hear these sound clips roll by. I'll try and connect them to some of the images if I can as they roll by. But this is sound clip number 1, Boondocks, The Color Ruckus.
Come here, bitch. Give me some real quick.
You ain't said nothing so far about my hair.
'Cause it ain't yours.
It is so mine. I'm the first colored girl you ever met with blonde hair. And one day, I'm going to have eyes as blue as the summer sky.
Bitch, you ain't never in a million years gonna have no blue eyes. You're hairier than a too. Your personality ain't much to speak of either. Your cooking ain't you ain't clean worth a damn. Nasty bitch. But I need somebody around here that's gonna wash the stains out in my drawers. So I guess you'll do.
Context of white supremacy. I think that the volume on that was a little low, so I'm going to adjust the volume here. I hope it is not blasting in your speakers, but I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit so that you can hear it, because I felt that was important. That was the way the episode began last week. That's like the first 2 minutes of the episode, what you just heard. But I'm going to turn the volume up on the sound clip, so watch your speakers. Hope it's not loud. Please forgive me. If you're on an iPod or something, my apologies. But you've been warned. So I'm going to play it one more time, volume up.
Come here, bitch. Give me some real quick.
You ain't said nothing so far about my hair.
Come here, bitch. Give me some real quick.
You ain't said nothing so far about my hair.
'Cause it ain't yours.
It is so mine. I'm the first colored girl you ever met with blonde hair. And one day, I'm going to have eyes as blue as the summer sky.
Bitch, you ain't never in a million years gonna have no blue eyes. You're hairier than a too. Your personality ain't much to speak of either. Your cooking ain't you ain't clean worth a damn. Nasty bitch. But I need somebody around here that's gonna wash the stains out in my drawers. So I guess you'll do.
Man, just that's the type of thing I would say keep in mind. I hope that is burned in everybody's mind when anybody asks you a comment about the Boondocks, how you feel about it, if you think it's constructive, how it makes you feel about black people. I hope you'll have that in mind. Now, I'm not saying the Boondocks has never been constructive, but that was the beginning of last week's episode, and that's why I said my first response hearing it, I got about halfway into the episode, and I was just like, man, this is kind of a bit much. I'm feeling really like stomped on as a black person. It was
double whammy.
Yeah, it was a lot to take, but that's just the first chunk of the episode. And as I'm playing these sound clips, I would like you to keep in mind the censor for the Boondocks seems all over the place. Like, some words they bleep, some words they don't. It seems it's okay if you want to say nigger or nigger, A or the ER on the end. Bitch flies sometimes. It's real just all over the place, what they choose to beep out and what they choose to let ride. And I mean, that's definitely not Aaron McGruders. I know that's big-time white people that make the decision about when those beeps are going to go in. But keep that in mind as the clip is rolling. So this is number 2 from last week's episode.
Ow! Damn it! Oh, Uncle, it's you.
Nellie? Nellie, is that you?
Nigga, I thought you was a burglar. A big, fat, funky, nasty, stinky, black, one-eyed burglar. Why the didn't you not, nigga, you raggedy son of a bitch?
I live here.
You sass me again, boy, and I'll cut you.
What are you doing here?
Uncle, I'm dying. Doctor says it's gonna be any day now, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't die in your father's house.
I haven't seen or heard from you since the day Daddy threw me out 53 years ago.
Yeah, so? What's new with you? Your daddy always used to say you wouldn't amount to Do you even have a job?
I have 47 jobs, actually.
Yeah, right. Is one of those jobs a Unabomber? And how am I supposed to die in this up chair? No lumbar support? You want me to die with back problems? You raggedy
Context of white supremacy. Yeah, that's again. This is early last week as well. Anybody I get on my Skype line, just if you could mute your line, that would be super helpful. Thank you. I'll open it all up once we get to the callers. Thank you. But yeah, this is like the first 5 minutes of last week's program. That's what you're getting hit with. Bam, bam. What I thought about, since we've done a whole broadcast, this is, I guess, like the 4th or 5th episode that I've done focused specifically on the Boondocks. The thing that I thought about is that in the previous programs, I've talked about the running theme that you see in the Boondocks of black females being degraded and depicted in just extremely hostile and dysfunctional terms on the program. That I've just seen this consistently. This goes back all the way to season 1, and I talked about that in a little more detail on the previous broadcast. And I just saw more of the same, and specifically with this is grandmother. This is Ruckus's grandmother that is coming in and threatening to cut him, and just calling him all these names and cursing. I mean, really degrading. This is his grandmother. And I was thinking, I was remembering Dr. Welsing and the comments that she makes about Tyler Perry, where she says, this is really degrading to black grandmothers, to have a black male dressing up and saying all this stupid stuff and behaving as a buffoon. This is really disrespectful to black grandmothers. And I thought, wow, this is what we get from the Boondocks. What is this saying about black people? What is this saying about black grandmothers? Yeah, kind of keep that in mind. And this is the second time this season that a grandmother has been depicted in less than sparkling terms, I'll say. If you go back, I believe it's season 3, episode 6, Smoking with Cigarettes, where the 7-year-old black male, based on a real story, based on the real experience of a black male victim of white supremacy, 7-year-old, where they show him beating up his grandmother and stealing her car, and she's all bruised and on the news. They made her kind of look like a buffoonish victim as well. So I would just say kind of keep that in mind as we go through the sound clips. Also, the names. I just spoke about this with a listener over the weekend about the litany of names that black people dump on each other. And I said, I've heard white people, racist white supremacists, cut each other down and call each other names and so forth. But with black people, it seems to be a little different. We end up making whole careers of calling people names. So a lot of our so-called comedians, a lot of their material is just about picking on other black people, make-believe black people, real black people in the audience, whatever. I know I saw a lot of that when I worked in a black comedy club in Atlanta, tons of it. You all have to remind me maybe one day to tell you the story of what happened. D.L. Hughley came to the club while I worked there. You'll have to tell me. That'll be a moment in racism. If you all remind me at some point, I'll share. But, yeah, and even the dozens, just not just one name. It's got to be a whole trough of insults dumped on you. And I even remember when I was in high school, a black female pointed out that we don't just call each other one name. It's a series of names. You know, you no good, black, dirty, open. I mean, I can just play sound. I don't even need to give you an example. I can just play some more sound clips and illustrate exactly from the Boondocks, which is what I'll do. This was number 3, all from last week's episode, The Color Ruckus.
He was miserable, just for the sake of being miserable. But what I remember most was his unwarranted hatred of the white man.
Damn crackers. Black man can't get ahead for nothing.
I remember him making me feel very ashamed for my very own whiteness.
I hate all these white.
But, Mom, I'm white. Daddy's just upset, baby, because he's lazy and the white man makes him work hard.
I had 2 younger brothers, my brother Darrell and my other brother Darrell. But Mister always seemed to single me out the way. I would get beaten for anything.
Nigga, did you just break that vase?
Wait! Lord have mercy! My baby!
Just having fun with off limits in Mister's house.
Nigga, did I just catch you having fun? Wait! Lord have mercy! My baby!
Every day, he reminded me of what a failure I was going to be.
Mister, I want to be a doctor when I grow up.
Nigga, did I just catch you wanting to be?
Wait! Lord have mercy! My baby!
My darling adopted Negro mother, who I loved almost like she was white, did the best she could.
Now, don't you listen to him, Uncle. You ain't no worthless nigger. Deep down in your heart, you always have to believe that you are special.
She made sure I knew all my white history.
Mama, who is George Washington Carver?
He's the man responsible for more peanut allergy deaths than anyone who ever lived. Baby, why don't we read about Eli Whitney instead? He invented the cotton gin. He was a great white man, just like you.
Context of white supremacy. I mean, you know, like I said, I just want to kind of let the clips speak for themselves for those who did not see that particular program last week. And it is online. Anybody, if you would like to see any of the episodes of the Boondocks, they are easily available online. You should be able to watch them. I think you can even see the most recent episode on the Comedy Central website. So if you want to check them out, you know, you should be able to find them. But one of the things that really has stood out to me more, particularly with what happened with Dr. Laura recently, just the casual, constant use of the word nigger in referencing other black people on the program. I have heard Sister Nefertari and Irritated Genie, Dr. Welsing. I've heard different non-white people, victims of white supremacy, talk about why it is important that black people really make an effort to discontinue using that term. I'm really, at the end of the day, am much more about asking people what they mean and just making sure that we're being much more precise with our words. But just hearing that tossed around that much on the Boondocks and knowing, I think, Bond Trader had talked about how this goes out around the world, you know, the global impact of this. I really think that we should really reconsider that. I had someone reference me they were calling ostensibly to, you know, say what's up, and it was, hey, nigga. And I was just thinking, I don't know if that's constructive. Again, what do you mean when you say nigger? Why are you calling me a nigger? Now, if it's used to point out a white person suspected racist, I'm on board with that, and I'm not into the saying N-word at all. When Dr. Eddie Moore Jr. says that even his admitted racist wife sees him as a nigger, I don't want N-word. I want nigger because that's what she said. That's what he said. If it's Norm Stamper saying I grabbed my nigger knocker and I went in and I was supposed to grab the biggest nigger in there, I want N-word. I want the word nigger said clearly. I'm not into the N-word there. But just us casually throwing it around and acting like that's cool, I just, rubbing me wrong. I'm feeling the incorrectness of it more now. So I guess I should thank the Boondocks for that. Maybe that was part of the intent of the program. I don't know. Other than just real interesting, the clip that just played, real interesting. And you can see some of the images that are rolling by. You can kind of see Mr. This is, you know, again, spoof from The Color Purple. I would just say, keep in mind, how does this make you feel about black people? What is the point of this? Am I supposed to be watching all of this trauma and, you know, stress response to the system of white supremacy? Am I supposed to watch this? What am I supposed to think? You know, is this supposed to be something that I snicker at and, man, white supremacy really messes us up bad, you know? I just see the image. They do show the Klan coming and burning a cross on their yard. I think that was part of the clip that you just heard. But I don't know. I feel like I really, in this episode, you just get lost in either laughing at or I don't even know. I think wherever you end up, you do not end up saying, man, these white people are really incorrect with regards to their behavior. White people are to blame for all of the problems that black people face. We should really be angry with black people. I don't think that's what you leave this episode thinking. That's not what I left thinking, and I think the typical confused black person, non-white person, I don't think they would watch last week's episode and leave thinking the system of white supremacy has intensely victimized black people to the point that they can't even relate in a constructive manner to themselves. I don't think that's the clean takeaway message. Or I don't think that's what the average confused non-white person, I don't think that would be their takeaway message from last week's episode. Getting information. Okay. I'm going to next clip. This is number 4. Not too many of these left, and then we'll hit the phone lines and such, see what other folks have to say. But this is clip number 4, The Color Ruckus.
Soldier to the war is won.
Excuse me, incorrect. I've done so many programs on the Boondocks. I got to make sure I get my sound clips correct. Okay, this is clip number 4.
When I thought it couldn't get no worse, my grandmama showed up at the doorstep.
I'm dying.
She was the only person I ever met more miserable than my daddy.
Ugh, look at you. Didn't I tell you wasn't going to be with your stupid, ugly wife and your stupid, ugly children? I can't wait to die so I don't have to look at your ugly black nigger ass no more. I can't take it no more.
I mean, again, this is grandmother they're talking about. I mean, that's what I mean, okay. Yeah, anybody that wants to say this is all in jest, this is all good-natured fun we're having here. Ha, ha, ha. Isn't that funny? Okay. What is the takeaway message? You know, what am I supposed to get? Like, I believe one of the gentlemen from Illiteracy said that this could be that Aaron McGruders' genius is just so immense that I am unable to grasp it. Okay. I just don't get that. It could be that I'm just too stupid, a little too ignorant. That might be the case, but I don't see what the takeaway message would be in a clip like that that's just got black people behaving in an extraordinarily degrading manner towards one another. I don't know what the constructive takeaway is from that. I could be missing it. Number 5.
Ooh, I can't tell you how nice it is to see all of my boys under one roof. Oh, White God is good, ain't he? We got so much catching up to do. Now, Uncle, did you know that Daryl is an accountant for a white finance company and just got a promotion from his white boss? Ooh, isn't that amazing?
That's wonderful, Daryl. A white man promoted you. Congratulations.
Oh, it's really not that big a deal.
And Darrell here owns his very own motorcycle shop. And he's married to a white woman. Oh, she's the most beautiful white woman you've ever seen. And she has his name tattooed right here on her white titty.
Mama, that's personal. I can't believe it. My own brother with his name tattooed across a white woman's milk gland. Congratulations.
Speaking of accomplishments, what'd you accomplish, boy?
Hush, mister. I'm proud of Uncle. He lives in this beautiful neighborhood around some lovely white people.
He live in a shack on the outskirts of town.
He works hard.
And still ain't got and ain't never gonna have. You know what that makes you? A Mexican. Is that what you've accomplished with your life, boy? Being a Mexican? You ain't even got to speak English to be a Mexican. Whose fault is it that you're a professional Mexican? Is that my fault?
He's not a Mexican. He's our son.
You always treated me different. You never loved me because I am adopted.
Adopted? Boy, you still believe that? Damn it, how old are you?
Mister, stop.
You still believe you got, what was that called? What'd you call it, revitaligo?
Daddy, come on. That's enough.
He does have revitiligo.
You ever heard of anybody else having revitaligo? Your mama made that up, boy. She thought it'd be good for your self-esteem if you believed deep down you was white. That's why they shouldn't let dumb bitches read psychology books.
That's not true. We found you on the doorstep.
I don't hate you 'cause you adopted. I hate you 'cause knocking up your mama killed my chance of me ever experiencing a single moment of happiness or joy for the rest of my damn life.
Baby, don't listen to him.
After that, it was more and more hungry niggas' mouths to feed. All my big plans don't write down to I worked my life away for these damn crackers. Still couldn't make my ends meet.
Mister, now you leave the white man out of this.
Shut your ass up, Bunny. I'm sick of you talking about that damn white man all the time. Name one of them who ever did for any of you. Huh? Can't do it, can you? Look at what you did. All my kids is some damn Uncle Toms. And you the worst. A black fool who hates himself so much he can't even see what's in front of him in the mirror. Just another black nigger like the rest of us.
I hate you. You're the reason why after I say the name Ruckus, I always say no relation. I am adopted. I am adopted.
It's a shame we don't all get together more often.
Context of white supremacy. Yeah. And while that clip was playing, I was reminded of when illiteracy was here, and he said these two things got married, and the product was Uncle Ruckus. These two things got together. Dehumanization of black people in the system of white supremacy. Yeah.
Double whammy.
Two of the things that stood out during that chunk of the clip. Number one, just the worship of white. There's your worship of white people, in my opinion. There is your worshiping and cheerleading of white people from beginning to end, which, in my opinion, continues throughout the program. And I would say maybe that is another running theme of the Boondocks. I'll talk about that a little later. But, yeah, I mean, man, you can see some of the images rolling by as well. So you can see his wife when she gets her blue contact lenses and she gets her blonde wig. Yeah. This is just keep in mind, as we're rolling, how do I feel about black people, and how do I think individuals, white and non-white, around the world, how would they see an episode like this? How would they feel about black people? This is number 6, clip number 6 from The Color Ruckus.
It's not true, is it? What Mister said?
You know you can't listen to that black fool. Your daddy's just miserable because he never learned to love the white man. Mark my words, he's going to end up just like his mama. Just be happy you're adopted, son. We darkies are a mess.
Bunny, get them relaxed out your ass and come on.
Yeah. I mean, for me, just the fact that this Uncle Ruckus's esteem, it would be better for him, and he thinks better of himself if the story goes that he is not really related to these people. This is his adopted family. He's really a white person. Now, it could be this is a part of the genius of Aaron McGruder and showing the deep level of our victimization and how much we identify with our oppressors and Stockholm Syndrome. That could be. That could be. That might be the case. And, in fact, I'm going to hop to this clip before I even finish with that, because that could be valid. So I want everyone to keep that in mind. That could be exactly what he's doing, that he's just trying to give you a humorous illustration of Stockholm Syndrome. So let's see.
What I never could understand was how the man got to be so hateful, so mad at the world, for no reason.
Look, nothing excuses what Mr. did to us growing up. But as we got older, we saw things. The white folks Mr. works for, well, they didn't always treat him very well.
No, that's crazy talk.
No, Uncle, it's true. Every time Mr. went out into the world, the white man took a little more of his dignity, and his sanity, and his humanity. He served white folks his whole life. He even worked for the police department as a practice dummy.
Sometimes they would just abuse him for no reason.
Good job, boy. Yeah. Well, he must have done something. It just ain't in the white man's nature to act cruel for no reason.
Sometimes I think him being so hard on us was his misguided way to try and toughen us up for a tough world.
Context of White Supremacy. Female listener just hit me now, see? But yeah, that could be, I just said, hey, let's keep that in mind. This could be Aaron McGruder is just trying to give us a humorous illustration of Stockholm Syndrome. That could be, okay? I guess I would argue what you just heard, his son, saying, hey, white people took a little bit of his humanity every time he went out. And I think you got some of the pictures of a white person picking him up and slamming him across his knee, and the enforcement officers taking turns beating him with their nightstick. So you got some of those images. The Klan burning the cross in front of the house. You got some of those images. That could be, but I think all of that is quickly forgotten with regards to you really having any sympathy for Mr. Even the fact that it's tied to the color purple. I mean, number one, you pile all of the emotion and all of the connections that you already have built into the color purple, and I think Danny Glover's character is probably one of the most hated villains in black cinema history. Even in Color Purple, he doesn't die. Like Danny Glover's character of Mr. in Color Purple, he lives and he does, do the correct thing to help Celie in the end, Doesn't redeem him all the way, but, you at least get to see him looking off in the sunset, and he looks like he's happy for her, and she's meeting her children. In the Boondocks, you don't even get that. Like, he dies. He falls over a liquor bottle and breaks his neck. It's hard for me to say that, you connect to and feel sorry. Again, think of that. I guess think of that as you ponder the Boondocks, if you saw this episode or if you watch it or if you're even hearing these sound clips for the first time. Think of that. When you get to the end of this episode, do you have sympathy for Mr.'s character? How are you feeling about black people at the end, particularly with his wife, because the photo just popped by. Mr.'s wife, in addition to having blue contact lenses and blonde hair. She has an affair with a suspected racist and hops over Mr.'s grave to run to her white lover at the funeral. At the funeral for her mother-in-law as well, no less. So, you know, just keep that in mind. I believe this is his last clip from last week's episode. Yeah, this is the last one. Number 8 from last week's episode.
See you soon, Ruckus. You was a sight for sore eyes.
Take care of yourself, Uncle. Bye, Daryl. Bye, Darrell. Hug your white wife for me. Bye, Mama. Bye, Mama's white lover.
Bye, Uncle. Bless you. Bye-bye.
It's hard to escape becoming your parents. Hard, but not impossible. Hopefully it's easier when they're your adopted parents. I hadn't realized before how much my hatred of the Negro came from my hatred of Mister. Maybe it was time to stop hating niggers for being black and start having sympathy for them for being hopelessly inferior to white folks. But as far as darkies go, my adopted family is all right.
That's the final shot from last week's episode. As far as darkies go, my family is all right. The only people of his family that are still alive are all intimately connected to white people. His mom leaves with her white lover. His brother, one of them, is married to a white person and is proud to have his name tattooed on her bosom. And his brother just got a promotion from a white man. So that makes them all right. Everybody else who had beef with white people, didn't like white people, they're all dead and gone. And I think 6325 Bond Trader, I think he pointed all that out pretty nicely on the broadcast with Doug Blackman earlier this week. That's kind of the results. That's what you end up with. I think that was what he said, putting it succinctly. Just looking at the results, everybody that's left is all in bed with a white person, literally or figuratively. You know, again, look at the body of work. I don't just make an evaluation based on one episode. I think a lot of these themes in terms of not being very proud of black people, I think that's kind of prevalent, particularly in season 3, maybe even throughout. I don't know. I think it started with good intentions and it changed somewhere along the line. Again, that might be why the program is ending this season. Wouldn't attack Aaron McGruder directly, but I would definitely say, as always, in the system of racism, white supremacy with regards to entertainment, that is one of white people, racist white supremacists, that's one of their most effective weapons for maintaining and refining the system of white supremacy. They are going to be extremely careful, extremely hands-on with regards to what they broadcast. And I guess my parting shot would be with regards to the Boondocks. I remember watching season 2 when the cows started on the University of Washington's radio station, and I remember watching the Boondocks with white people and me thinking, oh, this will really, you know, rile up the white person and upset them. Didn't have that effect at all. The white people were laughing more than I was. They loved it. It was like the garden party where Huey thought he was going to say something really inflammatory and get at these white folks, and they just laughed and laughed and laughed. That was about the effect that it had. I don't think anything has changed. I'm sure white people, there are tons of white people who love the Boondocks, think it's great, just like there are tons of white people who love the Chappelle Show. Think it's the best thing ever. I was talking to a black female today who's not even in this area of the world. I was talking to her, and she played me the song by Damian Marley and Nas, Patience, off their new album. And I listened to it. It's well put together. You know, I have listened to a lot of Nas's music and Damian Marley, not so much his, but certainly a lot of Nas. And it's a great song. And the thing that I kept thinking was that I bet a lot of white people like this song and like this album. Like, it had almost 1 million hits on the page that I listened to. Almost 1 million hits. I was like, if it's generated that many hits, there got to be white people who are listening to this song. And I was like, I have seen Dead Prez, I have seen Most Def, whole crowd of white people in the audience. I think it would be the exact same thing for the Boondocks, exact same thing when Damian Marley and Nas go out on tour. Whole throngs of white people in the audience, and that's something that I think about as an attempted counter-racist. If white people like this, maybe this isn't really working effectively against racism and white supremacy. That's kind of what I think, and I guess that's what I would say. Keep in mind for the Boondocks in general. I don't really think the Boondocks was bothering white people at any point while it was on the air. I don't think it was bothering white people. Maybe that's what bothered Aaron McGruders, particularly, I'm sure, them putting their 2 cents in for things that they wanted to see changed or edited or things they wanted added to the script. I don't know, but that would be my suspicion. At the end of the day, I know the end result most likely was not that disturbing to racist man and racist woman. I know a lot of white people that still love the Boondocks. It's a really profitable series to my knowledge. At any rate, I think that's all I wanted to share about last week's episode. I had comments on this week's episode as well, but I'll see if I can sprinkle those in as we go to get other people's comments and or feedback. Do I have anything else I wanted to share before I go to the phone lines? Oh, yeah, I do. My life goals. Yeah, I'll make sure I get those out, and then I'll go to the phone lines. My life goals for the next year, I think I have 5 of them. Niggerish, I should have them. These should be emblazoned. When I get my MacBook Pro, I might make that my desktop background. My 5 life goals. Number 1, replace white supremacy with justice as soon as possible. That is number 1 top goal. If that happens, everything else is squashed. Number 2, make countering racism profitable so that I'm generating resources to sustain myself. Make countering racism profitable. Number 3, in the next year, by the time we get to next August, kids' books on racism, white supremacy. Very important. Want to work on that, get that done. I want to have tangible progress on that by next August. MacBook Pro, hopefully that'll be one I can scratch off. I'm $288, 225 euro away from having that, so that looks like one of those that might be going off quickly. And number 5, putting the admitted white supremacist known as Tim Wise out of business. And what I mean, Tim Wise is totally ineffective at being able to go out and lecture. If he's going to do anything, it's got to be with white people. He has no ability at all to speak to non-white people. They just think he's racist, have no interest in hearing anything he has to say at all. I would like to see Tim Wise out of business. And in fact, I think if a significant number of non-white people felt he was a racist and had no interest in what he had to say, I suspect his stock with white people would plummet dramatically, because I think a lot of the pull that he has with other races is that he represents refinement. I can mention Tim Wise, I can quote something he said or pull out a book or 3 that he wrote or his blog, and non-white people think I'm cool. I get some of the social cash, anti-racist cash of Tim Wise, and they think that I, too, am not racist. I think Dr. Shelley Tuckluck, she talked about that, how important it is that non-white people value them as white people and think of them as not racist. So that's my 5th and final goal, putting Tim Wise out of business. So there we go. Last thing I wanted to share, I will go to the phone lines. I believe we should have Shadow already with us. And everybody that called in, your line is open. Everybody that called in, keep the background noise down, please, so we don't have to struggle through all that. But everybody that called in, your line is open.
Hello?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. 909. Good to hear from you, sir.
Hey, I'm here. Just wanted to let you know I was on the line.
I'd like to say this is 6325.
Yes, sir. Good to hear from you.
And I did see the Boondocks episode tonight, and I have to conclude that whoever's in charge, and I like to say whoever's in charge because a lot of times you don't know, even though that everything is listed as Aaron McGruders, executive producer, as well as head of the writing. I have to, for my own conclusions, that he definitely has a lot of not only just self-hatred, but focused and amplified hatred of black women. It's pretty much, like I said, my own conclusions that I can draw from the evidence that I'm given. Everything had pointed to it, especially after tonight. And a lot of times people don't realize what dehumanization is or what the use of the N-word does. I have 2 words, Dr. Laura. If that's not enough, Michael Richards. A lot of times people don't realize what dehumanization can do. Before they went into Iraq, they say, get those Hajis. Before they go into to kill Vietnamese, they say, get the Gooks or get the Japs. Or before they lynch black folk, get the Ns. Even black folk do it when we want to shoot each other in gangs. N-word, N-word. So what has happened and how the portrayals are going to be magnified globally, not only on the Boondocks, it'll mirror the same portrayal that happened when you saw 30,000 black folks with their hands reached out saying, like goldfish in a pond asking for popcorn at the same time. That image is a global image, and the damage is going to be so far-reaching, I don't think many of us not only will have a clue, but will even recover from what's going to probably happen to us in the next 5 years.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
What specifically about tonight's episode, It's Going Down, made you say that he Aaron McGruder, has a specific hatred for black females? What specific about tonight's episode made you say that?
One was Desperate House Negroes, or House, what was it, Desperate House, and if you heard the background noise, and it was the black women, and it was almost like it was Jerry Springer on steroids. And then when the Jack, whatever the guy's name, I guess it was like a portrayal of 24, when his white girlfriend, the racist had gotten killed, it was a whole different portrayal than when, and of course, the same, white racist gets a black girlfriend, LaQuisha or whatever her name was, or LaQuanda, whatever, and the way she was killed, and the actual, it was the same thing, a very derogatory, black women don't know how to act type thing. It was almost, and the way that she was killed by being she was exploded, as opposed to the beheading of the white. Also, look at the juxtaposition of the way the pictures were. Okay, it was almost like showing sympathy for the white, and almost like it was almost like an insidious but very subtle way of praise of getting rid of the black woman. So many of the messages are so insidious and so subtle. And then I looked at who his writers, who his the backdrop. I was looking at all the episodes to see who does everything from the background to the matting to the timing to the just the crew. And then I saw of his girlfriends. And Aaron McGruder, of course, is definitely a one that does experience. He is a white sex offender. And still, not only in his works, but also in his actions, and also of those who are getting a paycheck from his actions or from his so-called creativity. Sometimes you have to take the entire thing in context and look at it holistically, and you can almost summarize this individual not only has self-hatred, but black women are in particular in his gun sights.
Folks that are, if you're listening at Blog Talk Radio, he referenced the black female being tied to a missile of some sort, and her conduct, it shows her kind of acting like the stereotypical rowdy black female while she's tied up. There is I got a clip of that included in the slideshow that's going by. You should be able to see that. I shared your thoughts on that as well. That's why I included that image in the montage that's going by. And I think it was Housewives of Compton. I think that was the title of the show that they were watching, and it sounded like, because it played a couple times, that they used the TV was on and this is what they were watching, and they were referencing, it sounded like referencing a black male as a gorilla, and lots of referencing someone as a bee, and all that, just, black people being clowns and buffoons. The Samboification, if you use Jan Nettervan Peterson, his term, Samboification, was rampant tonight. I also thought, even when the white females, when they were killed, the white guy, his white love interest, it was a black male that was killing them in really savage ways. I think he beheaded one. The other, he pushed her off a building, and she blew up. So you get the savage black male, and he was on top of a building one. You talk about King Kong. He was on top of a skyscraper with her and pushed her off, and she blew up. So you get the savage black male, and then you get the rowdy black female who gets killed. So, yeah, I think tonight's episode, same pattern, same theme that I've seen consistently.
Exactly. I think a lot of the victims, especially those that really enjoy, might not really be clear as to what dehumanization and the far-reaching effects that it's going to have. As we look back in time, there was Thomas Dartmouth Rice. They used to call him the Ethiopian delineator. And that was actually the start of blackface. Back in the 40s, when they were trying to sell war bonds and things, it was a way, you saw Bugs Bunny and all the little cartoons about anti-Hitler, anti-Jap, it was always anti-black, whether it's Tom and Jerry. Dehumanization is whether it's Boondocks, Dr. Laura, or whether it's, what we saw in Atlanta with 30,000 people trying to find get government subsidies. Dehumanization and its effects are almost like, I would say, like Ivan Van Sertima, I would say, when he said it's like a nuclear bomb going off in the mind.
I would say, I think Dr. Welsing, she talks about Nazi Germany in the 1930s and the propaganda that they carried out in dehumanizing individuals, so-called Jews, who were classified as not white, and what happened to them. You had an extensive media campaign against them. And anybody, if you go back and check out when Raphael Scheck was here and he talked about Hitler's black victims, they did the same thing to black people. The Rhineland bastards, those big coins, if you go back and look in May, same thing, big dehumanization campaigns. I would agree completely.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
What I was thinking about Kevin McDonald and the point that 6325 made, his logic was so flawed that basically he could, someone like him, he could use the Boondocks as an argument. His arguments were basically logically flawed, but it doesn't matter when if you use certain arguments. You could just say that, like he says, white people are naturally have a fear of black people, like it's natural. So he can say, well, of course it's natural. Look at what they do, and and use certain examples. I just find that interesting that his whole argument is but he has the PhD, and they're basically teaching the same type of thinking in these prep schools and in these elite universities, and it's flawed. I was gonna say something about him personally. Well, I guess I'll say it, but that's attacking the person, because I just was feeling like he was like a paranoid schizophrenic and a psychopath, actually. I mean, when you think that people are biologically inferior, and then you come with these logical fallacies, basically, like Dr. Wilson says, what are you supposed to do with these people then? I mean, put him on a panel, as a doctor, and to come up with some type of final solution. So, when I think about war, and I think about the Boondocks, the question I asked was at some point was that, does it uplift us? Does it improve? Does it improve us? If that was the stated objective, that you would look at the Boondocks and then say, I don't want to be like that. Let me get myself together. I don't really think so. So if it doesn't, then and I've concluded that it doesn't, then you're right. I mean, it's just propaganda that's going to be built, used to harm us in the end. Now, presently.
I was thinking while you were commenting, 909, I was thinking of Hannibal Lecter. Like, these white people can come, like, not praising, want to be careful about that, not praising, but I like white people like Kevin McDonald. I would much rather have him than Tim Wise. I would much rather have him saying, the Haitians are ignorant, they're dysfunctional, their whole society shouldn't be rebuilt, don't adopt them, they're idiots and morons. I would much rather have white people saying that. Let's get our act together. These invading non-white mongrels are going to mess things up for us. White people, I would much rather have that. And sit down and be calm about it. Like, he's a professor, like, not out rowdy and skinhead client. Nope, I got a briefcase. I'm a tenured professor. And, I think black people are inferior, and, we should be working on that. A whole white team worldwide should be working on that. It just made me think of Hannibal Lecter, just being very calm and a methodical sociopath, or I think you said psychopath.
Exactly. That's how. Yeah, sociopath. I mean, that's how I was just observing him, but just because of his logic. I mean, his logic was flawed. So I'm thinking, for you to have a PhD and your arguments be so flawed, that means something ain't right, And then I looked at his, he got his master's in this evolutionary biology, and then you go back to their prints of this evolutionary biology, and it's Charles Darwin. You guys read that, Descent of Man, and they basically, he's basically making the argument that some biology is just, it's not evolution, and it's not evolutionary. So I mean, this is their master. This is where they get their, this is where they're getting their baton from, this guy. So you guys heard that term. It's called what do they call it? Trash DNA, throwaway DNA, or something like that. Yeah, they believe in like trash biology. He even makes the statement, this Charles Darwin, that if you breed with these so-called lesser evolved people, that evolution will start going backwards. So this is what he learned. This is what he's learned. and he's going full blast with it. But if you understand anything about biology, and if you understand anything about genes, you realize that that whole premise is false. And I wanted to ask him, what is he doing in a majority non-white, university? He should be at, he should be at USC or somewhere, majority white people. That's what I was thinking. He should be in a school, but I guess he can't get there. I guess he got his tenure. I guess he's afraid, that the cat's out the bag, and he got his tenure there, so he might think he ain't gonna be able to get a job. I don't know, but I mean,
so he's able to do far more damage there than at an all-white university.
Right. Yep. He's a liar. This dude is a liar. He's. I mean, to me, that's just. I mean, like you said, Hannibal Lecter. I mean, his character was a doctor. I mean, this dude is propagating these lies. But if you don't know, I guess you go to school. You got young people, young minds. They hear all this stuff and they don't really know how to think. They haven't been getting. They don't know anything about critiquing or critical thinking. Because they haven't been taught, and they just take it and run with it. And the reason why I said his logic was flawed is that how is it that he have this ethnocentric tendencies, but black people react to black people the same way white people react. So if that was the case, why is black people reacting to other blacks in negative ways? When you hook them up to all these brain, electric, EEG or EKGs and whatnot, and you get these reactions, these electrical reactions. Why do black people have these reactions also, the same that these white people have? Then you got the Boondocks. You see black people cursing each other out, barrage of insults, the way that the way that Mr. died with his neck broke. I mean, all these images that these images, this is you see why people react to us that way. And I was thinking when 6325 said about the females, it definitely seems like he's definitely something's not right there with the females. But I think the dark-skinned black males also, the way he projected them on this cartoon.
Exactly. Something that disturbed me, and it was very increasingly, was this flirtation with pedophilia that he started. And it was increasingly started more and more as the episodes, and this one was like, it's almost like an insidious, and like I say, it's very covert when he's talking about kicking, Huey in the groin, But it was, I mean, there's he's like skirting the homosexuality as well as, there's some like sexual issues that, that's always been there. But it's starting to get very, very, not only just creepy, but very, it's really very deviant, I mean, of course, the thing in the prison, now it went from that, and after I've been listening to Irritated Genie and Brother Kush for years, and basically it's almost picture perfect of a lot of what they've been describing about these, a lot of the deviants. So there's some other really hidden issues that, something's occupying either the writer's mind or Aaron McGruders. But if you notice the episodes, just notice a lot of the little things that are coming out, almost like The Simpsons. You started seeing more and more things starting to become very, very deviant-minded. And this one was, the coup de grace when he was talking about what, kicking a young boy in the groin, and the explicit, description of it was just, and think of the portrayal worldwide that has.
I think also that image, it's included in the montage. The image when Huey is on the school bus and they stop at the tank. I thought that was, just all of the brawls that black people have had to attend schools, and that image where the tank shifts the barrel so that it's directly on Huey's head when he's in the school bus. I thought that was a really striking image for black people. Because, white people have done that. They had to call out the National Guard about getting black people to go to school. So I thought that was a really striking image. And the phallic symbol of the tank as well. I thought that was pretty interesting.
And I might be wrong, but I also saw cowardice, almost a way of, remember when the Chinese at Tiananmen Square, and he stood in front of the tank and was supposed to be bravery? And then you see Huey and Ruckus, and Ruckus's arms was like straight up, like he was trying to reach for the sky. But Huey, it was almost like, and I might be wrong, but the only reason I say that is because when I saw all his writers were of Asian, or not just writers, but the production and all the people that do the artwork and the timing and the audio and you name it were all of Asian descent, I couldn't help but think, wait a minute, is there a message here of someone trying to say, these black males are nothing but cowards anyways?
Yeah, I commented on the Asians on one of the Boondocks. We were talking about the Asian because I looked at the like you said the people behind the scenes, and a lot of them are Asians, and I know Asians they have a big anime. That's their media. They watch a lot of animation. They work in that field. They're highly skilled in that field, and they look for it. They look for animation too. So yeah, like that imagery is, they have a tendency to look for animation too. They have a whole culture of animation. So you talk about this cartoons. You can do a lot more with drawings than you can do in real life. So like the broken neck and so cartoons ain't no joke. That's a big part of propaganda. So.
Which also shows the global nature of it, because Hispanic, like South Americans, are very big in Oriental or in Asian anime. So it's also showing, it's a testament to even the nature and the messages that are being shown within that anime, from the language to the portrayal of women, children, even black males amongst themselves. And always notice that the ones that are very, very, for lack of a better term, macho, or the ones that are always, the only one that was somewhat macho, but he got beheaded, was the Jim Kelly, the brother that was the wannabe, the karate guy who was beheaded in a previous episode, and notice the macho white boys always make it to the end, i.e., the two wannabe black, or want to act black white boys that are all, the former, I guess the Onceler or whatever his name is, the former army vets, just notice the portrayal of them always being, whether it's this Jack character, whereas the black males are always either buffoons, cowards, going against the women, going against the children. It's some really hidden stuff there.
Yeah, hidden in plain sight, as they say. And if you look at that anime, the Asians, if you look at the black characters in anime, man, they have that buffoons, very dark with like red lips or pink lips, It's even in their video games. They never draw like black people the way, in any kind of flattering way. They're artists. They would never do that. You know, and I had a conversation with this Asian dude, and he was saying that it's because, you know, they might not want their women to be attracted to you know, to blacks, and the Asian males, you know, didn't want to portray them in any kind of flattering light, but they're very comfortable with images of black people being very negative. It's all in there.
Double whammy.
Do you think part of them not wanting their women to be attracted to black men is the problem that, like they say, Asian males are like black females are the most unpartnered females in the world? And I don't know if Asian males are the most unpartnered, but I know they definitely complain about their women dating white men a lot. You think that's like a defense mechanism to degrade black men because of that?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely, yeah.
Yep, I agree. The word defense mechanism, I think, is you know, right on target, whether it's unconscious or conscious, you know. Because I've seen some interviews with these Asian artists, and they claim that they can't draw black males any different. They say they don't know how. They don't know how to structure the face. They don't know how to structure the lips. They can't do it.
They sure don't know how to structure a whole bunch of other stuff, because I used to work at a social networking site, and there was a queue of images to check for violations of terms of service, and there was so much Japanese animated porn that came through that. They can draw the structure of a whole lot of stuff, so that's some bull. They can draw whatever they want to draw.
Wait a minute. Think about an Asian artist, animation artist. Think about them sitting down and drawing a black male. They draw black females pretty you know what I'm saying, pretty nice, you know what I mean? They be bodied up and everything, and but males, so I was just thinking, you know, him sitting down starting to draw a black male, he get the shakes. You know, he just can't do it. He like, this is just, I can just imagine, like, if he's telling the truth, I mean, what is the process that his mind just was like, no, we cannot, I can't do it. I got to make him look as jacked up as possible. And, you know, that's pretty interesting.
Global system of racism, white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did want
to take part in it.
I wanted to comment on the YouTube. They had like for the Boondocks, they had like 50,000 people that watched that Color Ruckus, and I think it was something like 300 and some change comments. So, you know, I went to the comments first, because really when I first started watching it, I didn't want to see it. I'm like this is too much, man. I mean, it made me want to punch somebody. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it took me back to some crazy feelings of, like, I don't know. I just got like, and then so I said, okay, well, let me read the comments first. And so I was reading the comments, and there were people back and forth talking about, was Mr. why, you know, you're basically sympathetic to Mr. and he was a a-hole, and nobody. I mean, all the comments I read, I didn't read them all. I mean, because some of them was just, you know, this is funny and, you know, short ones or whatever. But the back and forth, the conflicts between blacks and whites, you know, what I was reading was that they were basically, you know, blaming either Mr. or the mom, and they were back and forth, you know, who's more to blame, the mom or the dad or Mr. Somebody put the grandmother was the one to blame. And there was one comment that talked about his abuse by, you know, the white people, but they shut him down real quick. But nothing in the comments, all those comments, nothing pointed to racism, white supremacy, not a one. It was either Mr. to blame or the mother, and, you know, I hate black women like that, and black men don't need to take, you know, it was just, so I found that interesting.
That's what I would expect. I got The person that called in 5827, got you, 5827, you're on. But that's what I would expect, and that's, I guess, one thing I would tell people. Keep that in mind. Like, if you watch programs, movies, television shows, if you study racism, white supremacy, you have information about this planet and what's happening on this planet that most other non-white people do not have. So keep that in mind. If you're watching and you're picking out things and this, that, and the other, also try to think, how would I be thinking about this? How would I feel about this if I wasn't informed about racism, white supremacy? And I strongly suspect that episode, Color Ruckus, is 22 minutes, I think, without commercials, like 22 minutes. I mean, the amount of time that they spend focusing on white people being ultimately the ones to blame is like 2 minutes, if that, maybe 2 minutes. And you heard most of it, the sound clip where Ruckus's brothers tell him about how white people mistreated their dad. That, and I think another brief snippet where the Klan is burning a cross in his yard. The rest of it is just black people abusing and being hostile to black people. And I think that would far outweigh anything that was portrayed with regards to white people being most to blame. And I think anybody, if you're not informed about racism, white supremacy, you're definitely going to miss that and it's Mr.'s fault, it's his grandmother's fault, you know. Any black person is their fault. 5827, did you want to comment?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. It's Thomas. You know, when I look at the Boondocks, what I observe, and I may be incorrect, but what I see him doing, and it's almost like, well, there's two things at play. One, kind of like what you alluded to in regards to what happened with Dave Chappelle. I think that the show went off the rails. He really didn't have the creative control, and certain things were usurped from him, and he may even been required to put this spectacle out there. So that's number one. Number two, it's almost like counter-racism gone wrong, where instead of saying things to incense the people that are most vulnerable, and you have to realize there's two things that kind of, you know, he's hinting at. There's that one episode, The Hatocracy, and that was kind of a pivotal episode, because what he's going at is the people who are most injured, and that is the people who have the least resources in urban America that are non-white, specifically black or African American. I went home for the first time in 4 years. I went back to South Bronx for the first time in 4 years, because usually it's a very depressing trip for me. And some of the very things that you see on the Boondocks, I've seen in real life. I mean, so he tries to, you know, affect his audience in such a way that they will take notice, but instead they simply laugh at it and take it as cannon fodder and just toss it to the side. The one episode, the Sweet Ebony Brown, I think that was the one episode where he said, okay, you know, I'm going to put enough buffoonery out there to satisfy, you know, the masters of the plantation, but there was something that he did, and I don't know if you noticed in that episode, he presented the picture of, you know, the most non-stereotypical black woman, and he showed how black men will often either do something to jeopardize that relationship because they're so damaged themselves. And also, part of what he's talking about as far as with the, you know, I think 6325 talks about the hatred towards black women. You know, I see that type of hatred amongst black women because of the fact they have access to certain things in white America through corporations and being able to get certain opportunities because they're perceived, quote unquote, as less of a threat. You see that kind of hatred where a black male will often try to exploit that woman, and rather than try to be a support, he'll do everything in his power to tear her down. So it's very insidious, and that's true, but there's some elements in truth in there. We have to just kind of be honest about that, because you hear all the different groups. I've been on Blog Talk for about 9-10 months now. I didn't realize the kind of vile venom that's out there with some of these groups, like I think one of the Black Men's Event, where they're just always on a tirade about something that a black woman making poor choices about Pookie and Ray Ray, and so there's a whole lot of things at play. I don't necessarily think that Aaron McGruder has a utter contempt and hatred for black women. I think that what he tries to do is shine a light on a lot of what we experience on the people who are most effective, but they're totally oblivious to it, which is basically comes to the point of now he's laughing at you instead of laughing with you. So maybe I'm incorrect, but like I said, after going home for the first time in 4 years, I've seen it firsthand, and that's the part of black society that is most affected, the people who don't have the resources. You have a 34% unemployment rate amongst black men in a lot of these urban areas, and I saw it firsthand with these guys just walking around with nothing to do, nothing constructive to do, because the resources are being held up by mainly white people. So.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. This is Mr. Nero. I didn't listen to all of the Kevin McDonald interview yet. I'm still listening to it because I had called into the show, but I had been working overnight, so I ended up falling asleep on it. But as to the Boondocks, especially last week's episode, wow. I didn't know who put it together. I'm not sure if it was Aaron McGruder or someone else, but at that moment watching that episode, I kind of got it. And so I actually thought the episode was brilliant because it made me think about something in regards to the body of work that has been put together on the show that I hadn't thought about. And what I really hadn't paid a lot of attention to is Granddad's role in raising the children. And so in watching the show, and this may have been, subconscious on Aaron McGruder's part if he's responsible for that show. But I kind of saw it differently. If anyone has ever cooked a pot of herbs, typically it takes 3 to 4 hours to cook a pot of herbs, and it boils down. It goes through different phases. And I think with Aaron McGruder's work, that's kind of how you have to look at it. You got to really boil it down to get to, the heart of the matter. And ultimately, I think the message that Mr. McGruder is trying to send, and I certainly may be incorrect or in error about this, is that I think he feels that our parenting and our social skills with one another is the primary reason why we have so many problems. And if you go through the body of work, can someone tell me anything that Granddad taught those 2 boys? Something constructive, whether how to fix a car, whether how to fix electronic equipment, how to paint a home, anything. And I see that with black males today. It's like every generation of black people, black males. I'm going to focus on black males because I think that's the perspective he has chosen all throughout the body of work. We start from scratch every generation. Those 2 boys on that show don't get taught any social skills at all from their granddad. And if black females want to know why they have so many problems with black males, watch the Boondocks. Because they're certainly not taught to respect black females on that show. they're certainly not taught to value a black female's intellect on that show. Granddad himself, excuse me, Granddad himself is after light skin, big breasts, nice firm behind. I mean, at least that's what it seems like on the episodes that I have watched. So as I'm watching the show, and as I'm going through the body of work, I'm going, wow, he is really sending a very strong message about the lack of parenting that goes on in a black household. You know, as I'm boiling all the other stuff down, because I obviously observed the things that everybody has touched on. And a lot of that stuff has already been in, especially in season 3. So I'm thinking Mr. McGruder has had to kind of like choose his battles. And as Thomas pointed out, he has to give the races what they're asking for in order to stay on. And I'm thinking he's hoping that some people will just boil it down and see the things in there that are in fact real for them and try to change those things. I really can't point out enough the emphasis he put on the fact that black males don't get taught anything from anybody of constructive value, socially speaking. I don't think anyone can really point to a show or point to something that's been memorable in what Granddad has taught those boys. I don't think anyone can really point to something like that. And also, I want to deal with the self-esteem that these boys don't get. One of the comments Granddad made to Huey in episode 13, I should have abandoned you at the mall when I had a chance. I don't think terms like that help anybody. Another term, I don't want to hear that. I'm dying from a heat stroke. You want to cool down, go cut your hair. That was episode 10. Also, Huey got no props for noticing the fact on that Steve Wilkos show that they lie about the results on air. Granddad never even thanked him for observing that.
I have a sound clip for you. If you want one. I think this goes with your point.
What is this really going to accomplish?
What happened to you, Huey? I thought you believed in the revolution. I thought you were a freedom fighter.
Granddad, you're not going to end prohibition by getting arrested.
Well, what if me and Rosa Parks had said that on that bus in Montgomery? What if me and Martin Luther King said that in Selma? What if me and Nelson Mandela said that during apartheid?
When were you arrested in South Africa?
Never mind that. Point is, you sold out.
I think we should just move to L.A. I'm going to be the first nigga to be a blood and a Crip.
Granddad, nobody solves problems by going to jail anymore.
Fine. What do you suggest?
Look, if it's really that important to you, maybe we should just move to California.
Then I'm going to start in my own movie about the first nigga to be both the blood and the Crip. I'm going to play me.
But I'm not leaving my home. I paid good money for this house. And now it ain't worth so we're staying put.
Then I'm going to run up on a Fresh Prince kid and show him who the real Karate Kid is. They ain't even paying a nigga.
So what's more important, weed or us?
Weed.
Man, he didn't even think about it.
Mr. Renegade? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm glad you played that clip. That was another one I was coming up to, so I'll skip past it. Another comment. I'm sick of having to beat y'all all the damn time. Told that to both boys. Lied to Huey about smoking weed. Let's see. And then I'm skipping past that comment. Bring me a brand new belt so I can whip your behind. Says that to Riley in episode 12. Now, that was just me going back a few episodes. I said, wow, I wonder how many comments Granddad has been making like that all throughout each season. So I'm going, gee, how does Huey even come into existence? I can understand how we get a Riley. How do you get a Huey? I mean, how do you possibly get a Huey when he's being basically housed? Granddad really has not taken an active involvement in these boys' lives. Granddad's not teaching them anything. Granddad's not trying to nurture them from the fact that they've lost their family. I mean, they've lost their family. I don't know what the storyline is behind what happened to their mother and their father. But, I mean, whatever it is, they're gone. They're gone. And you don't see, there's no memorize, no going back and saying, hey, let's relive some of these things that happened with your parents. Let me, share with you some of the things, how your father was, how your mother was. And the reason why I say that is this. I can remember watching old black and white movies back in the day where the father would be off fighting some war, and the mother would put a photograph of that father next to that boy's bed. And every night, she would tell that boy a story about some of the great things his father is doing. So by the time the father actually comes back from the war, the mother has shared so many intimate details about the father that the boy automatically loves the man because he sees the man as a hero. So I'm watching the episode, I'm going, wow, what a powerful message. Probably going to go over a lot of people's head over the, when you look at the body of work. But I still say, even more so, I still can use this tool to teach about some of the things we're just not doing correctly. And also just to add a little bit more, the other thing that the show taught me, we don't ask for advice, and we should. Black males need to be asking older black males who seem to have a few things together for advice on things. We don't do that.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up because, without a doubt, I see the tool that he's using, and sometimes when a person uses a tool, a lot of folk get hurt if the tool's not used correctly or if it's not used for constructive purposes. If it is, sometimes a person can wield a knife thinking that they're building a house and cut everyone around them. Back in 1968, I remember watching on TV during the Vietnam War. It must have been 67, 68. And the guy was talking, I can't remember which, I keep wanting to say rather, but it wasn't, it was one of the other newscasts talking to a Palestinian who was at the time, Is It Real was still, I think it was around the 6 Days War or whatnot, and it was, it was something of that nature. And they were talking about, he was asking the Palestinian guy, why don't you guys just lay down and, and be, and assimilate like these African or these Negroes at the time, we were called Negroes. Why don't you just assimilate and do, and they don't mind when people, throw rocks at them and call them names and this and that. And the Palestinians said, that's a different type of humanity. We want to be around for a while. And that stuck with me since the late 60s. Okay, and I see the evidence now of someone who might think that they're doing something constructive, but they're wielding a chainsaw because the rest of the world sees this. The body of work is amplified so drastically, and over the last 45 years I've seen it, the body of work of all kinds of people, whether it be the Maya Angelos or whether it be the Al Sharptons or you name it, or it could be the Dave Chappelles or the hip-hop industry. The body of work is not just within trying to teach. If you can teach, there's different ways of teaching or there's different ways of portraying things. There's a thing called airing your dirty laundry. If you air your dirty laundry in front of those who want to compete with you, whether you want to call them enemies, whether you want to call them competitors or whatever, when you air that dirty laundry, they know everything from where they can wipe you out in a heartbeat because they know everything from what you've eaten for lunch to what you want to eat. So as what Aaron McGruder does, or what that body of work has done, I may be completely wrong, but in the last 50 years I've seen evidence of it, and 99.9% has been right. It's going to be so damaging, it'll be worse than what Dave Chappelle's done.
I wanted to get a sound clip in and just make a quick comment, and then the other folks that are on the line, if you want to chat, feel free. And anybody that, if you want to hop in on Skype, just shoot me an email, untiljustice@gmail.com. I think it's like 3 minutes left on the live stream. If you would like to hop on Skype to listen or talk, shoot me an email, untiljustice@gmail.com with your Skype handle, and I should be able to hook you up. But yeah, I did want to play a quick sound clip before I shared a thought.
Come here, bitch. Give me something real quick.
You ain't said nothing so far about my hair.
'Cause it ain't yours.
It is so mine. I'm the first colored girl you ever met with blonde hair. And one day, I'm going to have eyes as blue as the summer sky.
Bitch, you ain't never in a million years gonna have no blue eyes. You're hairier than a too. Your personality ain't much to speak of either. Your cooking ain't you ain't clean worth a damn. Nasty bitch. But I need somebody around here that's gonna wash the stains out in my drawers. So I guess you'll do.
If Aaron McGruder is doing this, 3 seasons worth of this, just to show us that, you know, there's a real lack of parenting amongst black people and the kids are being thrown to the wolves and this is what they're having to deal with. I feel like there's a lot of unnecessary, non-constructive material that I'm having to step over and around to get to that message. And I think it would probably obstruct most confused non-white people. I don't think most confused, in fact, most of the confused non-white people that I know have never even really asked, what happened to Hugh's parents? Is that going to be resolved in the last episode? Where are they at? Even just what's the story? Even if we're not going to see them, how did they end up here? Most of the confused non-white people that would be way over their head to be asking them to pay attention and pick that out that, oh, he might be giving a commentary on parenthood in the quote-unquote black community. That sound clip I just played, there's so much of that I think that would be lost, way lost for like 95% of the black people that I think watch the Boondocks, but I could be wrong.
Can I be heard? Oh, no, I would agree with that. I don't believe a lot of people are going to even see that because I didn't see it at first as well. But to respond to, was it 6532?
Yeah, 6325, yeah.
I'm sorry, 6325. Just to respond to that, unfortunately, under this system, the brain trashing has already occurred. And whether or not this accelerates it, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But I just want to go back to looking at the body of work and putting it in the context of what a black male child, how that black male child is being raised, how that black male child is growing up, and I guess I agree. I don't think a lot of people are going to even point to the fact that, hey, where are the parents? What happened to the parents? I do believe that, that won't come up with most people. But I'm hoping that people on listening to this program will look at it in that context and ask themselves, gee, how is a child growing up in this environment supposed to have any respect for a black female or any respect for themselves if he's not getting any constructive information from the people that's raising him? I mean, where is he supposed to learn how to interact with a female? Who's responsible for teaching them that? And this goes into me why other non-white people will say, this is why I don't want you to deal with one of them. Sit down and watch this. Because I have heard other non-white people, so I've dealt with Indians, I've dealt with so-called Indians from India, so-called Pakistanis from Pakistan, and so on and so forth. And in their culture, in Indian culture, many of them teach their children, from the get-go, to hate Muslims. They have a thing against Islam. I guess they've been at war against Islam for a long time. And so they raise their children. You don't accept anything from them. You know what I mean? I don't care what it is. You don't accept it. We're not at war with them, but you ought to hate them. You are literally to hate them. And they don't have a problem with it. They're still able to function. They're still able to start businesses. They're still able to get a lot of constructive things done because the races will allow them to. So this emotion of hate that they have for them doesn't seem to stop them from being able to do things. And so I just wanted to, plant that seed of when watching that body of work to keep that in mind as well.
I just think that it's interesting that the backstory that was given about Ruckus, that seemed to be the one that was shown as sympathetic. And just like you said, there's no backstory about Huey and Riley's parents. There's a little bit about Grandpa, but I do think that the effects of watching this, especially worldwide, is going to be more damaging than anything else. I've really been concerned about it lately. Now that I've been watching it and seeing it, I don't know if it's constructive at all. The Boondocks.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Now, in the war, the conclusion is was this good for us or was it bad for us? Now you're going to go into what Aaron McGruder his intentions were, or you can't. It's like, how can you do that? You have the data, you have the imagery, you have you have the audio, you have the video, and you have to make your conclusions based on that. And I feel like I have to. I would have to. My logic is just, for me, it just reminds me of death by 1,000 cuts. This is just one more cut. That's that's how I feel about it. So, I would just it's having to stretch my mind that far to find the nutrients in the crap. Basically, in the war, that just can't happen. And what I think it is the wisdom, his understanding. He made an observation. He sees the situation that black people specifically are in, and to me, it's to what degree do you understand the observations that you're making? And for me, it's just you look at his data, his work, and
I'm sorry. I just want to stress this, sir. If we don't figure out as black males and black females how to be able to cohabitate constructively, there ain't gonna be no war.
He's right.
I agree with that. I don't think the Boondocks is constructive to that end. I don't see anything about the Boondocks aiding relationships between black males and females. In fact, I think everything about this would make them worse, because I think the typical confused black person who watches this program would come away not thinking very well of black females at all, and maybe not even thinking very well of black people, period, watching this program. That would be my opinion based on a confused non-white person if they were watching the Boondocks, especially negative attitude about black females. And I wanted to also point out, I want to make sure I don't lose my sound clips. I wanted to contrast the dog on the episode Smoking with Cigarettes. That was episode 6 from season 3. Riley is with a black male 7-year-old, where they're making fun of a real 7-year-old black male. But anyway, this black male on the episode kills a dog. Probably one of the most serious moments on the Boondocks, when they kill this dog. You have The Color of Ruckus, where not one but 2 black people die. And I don't think either one of their deaths compares to when that dog was killed on the Boondocks.
Or even when Bushido Brown was killed, and the way they portrayed him in that last episode when he was killed, I was real disappointed with that too.
Oh, another thing I did, you know, when you hear those sound clips, when you watch something, not watch something, but like, you know, you have something playing that has both audio and video, just listen to the audio. Sometimes, you know, you just listen to the audio, and then put it on mute and just watch the visuals. You know, I think that can help in your identification. When you're trying to find the logic and try to find the contradictions. See, that's what it's all about. It's like, where are the contradictions at? And if there's more contradictions than not, then it's a logical fallacy.
Had you guys commented on the McDonald episode that Gus had yet? Is it Professor McDonald or whatever?
I think 909 shared a few thoughts about Kevin McDonald, and I'm not sure if anybody else did, but it has come up if you want to say anything.
Again, I know you don't like praise Gus, but I was amazed that you were able to get this guy on the show, have him say all the things he said, and at the end of the show, he actually commented that it was one of the best interviews he ever had. I almost fell out of my chair. It's a really good show.
I don't really know what to say about it. I'm still kind of, I don't know what to say about it, but like if a racist says, that was a good job you did, nigga. I mean, I don't really know what to say. Like, maybe I did a terrible job countering racism. Like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a contradiction too. I mean, here it is. He feels like we're, biologically inferior, but he can't find. He ain't been interviewed by any white people that, man, yeah, that. Well, the comment he's pretty. Well, I won't attack him personally, but his logic is way off. But yeah, he's teaching these things. That's the point. He's teaching. He's a professor, and he's got his doctorate, and he's teaching, and a lot of people coming up in these universities are learning this stuff. So
I was just shocked that he was saying that white people weren't ethnocentric or racist enough.
What was it, implicitly?
Point out to him that. Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, what implicitly? I think that's what he said.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No problem. I think he said that they were more implicit than explicit, but that basically sounded to me like he was saying they needed to step their game up. And he almost talked as if they hadn't been doing these things in the past enough. And Gus pointed out that as far as being ethnocentric, that, white people got it on lock as far as doing their thing, but I guess he just kind of glossed over it. Or did y'all think that?
Right. His logic. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was listening to you. Go ahead.
Oh, Gus, yeah, he brought it out. They're the most ethnocentrically, their ethnocentric tendencies. It's just that I guess he wants it to be more explicit. He wants to say, like, look, we don't want y'all here, and the reasons why is this, and this. You know what I'm saying? He want it to be cute. His passion is for it to just somebody come out and say it. You know what I mean? He wasn't, but it's already going down. Gus proved it, man. I mean, and it's obvious. Anybody observing this thing, I mean, it's obvious, man. They get together and they go to Aspen. There ain't no black people there. And he gave examples himself. NASCAR, country western music, lunchrooms. I mean, what are you talking about? They do their thing, and they don't want nobody Tea Party.
I like how he broke down all the coded things that we all know are racist and people, tend to say aren't. And he just kind of no, this is why we do it. that's why I had to say that. Yeah, that was really a good job, because I was shocked you could get the guy on the show, and then to get him to the point where he was happy getting off the show. Like you said, Gus, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I did hear that part about the ethnocentric, and I was saying to myself, wow, he must be refining the system. Because you're right, they have mastered being ethnocentric.
Yeah, ethnocentric tendencies, they got that on lock.
Absolutely.
Well, there's something interesting about, Parr's work. He talks about the so-called Jews, and he talks about the fact that they're focused on ethnocentricity, and being able to get access to more resources based on them having advanced verbal skills. And then you look at the fact that his whole argument is kind of one that's been kind of rehashed about the inferiority of the races. I mean, he's basically saying, on the one hand, let's take some cues from what the so-called Jews do in Israel. Maybe straight eradicate the blacks and wage war, and at least the gates of hell. Pretty much that's what they do in Israel to the Palestinians. I've actually been to Israel, and it's not pretty. So they take a no-nonsense attitude. They don't care if they kill 1,000 babies. It could be one, or it could be 1,000. But if you kill one Jew, you will kill probably 1,000 babies to make a point. Palestinian. So, and there's one other thing too that's this one something that's really irked me and really irritated me. It's this Eric Rush guy. He's been popping up all over the place, and the fact that he says that we have negrophilia in this country, which is laughable. In 2010, he published a book called Negrophilia, From Slave Block to Pedestal, America's Racial Obsession, describing alleged inordinate affinity for blacks and pop culture and special treatment of black people in certain circumstances. Wow. So, just I don't know. I think they're ratcheting things up.
There's a blog for a newspaper here in Chicago that I sometimes go on. It's a black female that runs it, and she had an article about the whole Dr. Laura thing, and a lot of white people wrote into the blog, and it was just all this defending of what she said and why she said it. And, I just kind of got rowdy on the blog, and I was just like, look, I'm tired of explaining to white people why they can't say nigger to black people. If you do that, I'm going to try to disrespect you or hurt you in some way. And, they started, why are you being like this? And it was just, I was just like, I'm tired of explaining, the whole group thing, whatever. It's disrespectful to say this, it, and I think one of the parts where the black female called in to Dr. Laura and said that that people would say racist things in front of her. I think I know she said that the word nigger was tossed around her while she was with family and friends with her husband, and they would always ask her questions and make her uncomfortable. I mean, she was even defending that, and she basically told her, hey, if you want to, you should marry out of your race and not expect this. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, she was doing what white supremacists should do. That she performed uncued like a SEAL or someone over at SeaWorld. I mean, it's she did her job. And what was even, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say she was actually more dismissive than that. She told her, unless you can have a sense of humor, don't marry outside of your race, meaning you should find the word nigger being tossed around and people asking you, why do black people do this, do black people do that, as something humorous, and your husband not defending you. You should find that humorous.
Yep, absolutely. That is exactly what she said.
Basically, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just found her being racist, white supremacist on so many levels. Even if she had never repeated the word nigger, she was just being obnoxiously abusive to that woman. And she's smart. She's a psychologist. Dr. Laura's not stupid. She knew what she was doing. And she posted on her website later on a letter from a black female listener who says, oh, Dr. Laura, I didn't like what you did today, but I don't think you're a racist. I'll continue listening to the show. She had to have that validation from a black person that they don't think she's a racist.
Yeah. Basically, that's when I see a skunk, I expect it to stink. When I see a rabid dog, I expect it to bite. And Dr. Laura, whether it's her, Tim Wise, Glenn Beck, McDonald, whoever, I expect when I expect water to be wet. When it comes up dry, then I have questions. And the thing that is more, I should say, this how could I, for lack of a better term, a little unsettling, is the growing numbers of, as the gentleman said, Eric Rush, the Reverend Mannings, and those that are convincing a lot of victims that it's okay to not only be victims, but to acquit those that are victimizing you, and to not even look at the fact that water is wet. In other words, what white supremacists do, if they do certain things, is out of the ordinary, and you just get just acquit it, and and so be it. So it's there's no doubt about it. There'll be more Dr. Lauras and more Michael Richardses and others.
Manning doesn't just say to acquit them. He says go marry him. He said go get you a white man, marry you a white man. You didn't see that video on YouTube where he's telling black women to go marry them a white man? He is Uncle Ruckus in person. I can't stand that man. Uncle Ruckus, boy.
But the thing is, people, they don't think for themselves. They have no way. They just listen to what people say, and then if it sounds good, you have all of, if it sounds good and they have a doctor behind it or in front of their name or professor or something that gives them some type of authority, then people just take it as it's the truth, and they don't think. That's what we're dealing with right now. People can't even argue and have come to any type of understanding because they don't really. They just don't have the tools. They haven't been taught those tools, so that's the messed up part about it.
One thing about the Eric Rushes and the Mannings is it's very comfortable for them to be in environments that are, where there are a lot of victims, to where they can, because of, like you were saying, they have those titles, to where, all of a sudden they're looked at as some kind of authority, so they can be amongst victims and say the very insane or very scripted by white supremacist type of, comments. But I would like to see them say that in Eastern Washington, or Pocatello, Idaho, or Coeur d'Alene, or Bozeman, where there are some real white supremacists. And I would like to see, their chances of not only saying that, but survival as they do it.
Oh, I don't know what I wanted to say. The part in the one of the comments somebody was making was that I think it was in the Boondocks where he said basically that the father was basically it was a misguided way of toughening him up or preparing them for the world. And I thought of Prince in that movie Purple Rain. Actually, Prince had said that on the Tavis Smiley show. That it was this, the way his father was like beating him and beating his mom and stuff, was him trying to basically, prepare him for racism, white supremacy. I thought about that.
Can I ask you something? All that preparation, do you think it worked?
In Prince's case?
Yeah.
No. I mean, the guy, no. The answer is no. I mean, Prince, because I play instruments, but as far as his musicianship, for a while before I was really understanding, the system and whatnot, I just basically put him on put him up there with Jimi Hendrix and things, because he played the keyboards, guitar and bass guitar and drums. So I was like, wow. I mean, like, how do you play all those instruments pretty well, But then the music, so then when I started understanding, how he's, with the high heels and the was he gay and whatnot, that was like, something's not right, like, so. Yeah, I had to. But I know a lot of people that still hold him in high regard. They just look total past the high heels and whatnot. But maybe something his father did in his relationship with his mom, it just, put him in high heels. So it was.
He also doesn't seem to like black women either. As far as romantic options, I don't think he dates black women.
I mean,
I thought he married a black woman, didn't he?
Mm-mm.
Did he marry Vanity?
Some type of Latina. Vanity, no. But I don't think she's black either.
Wait a minute. Didn't he marry the gal that was from Egypt? She wasn't black?
Most people in Egypt are Arabs, aren't they, or some type of mixture?
Oh, I know, but she looked black. Well, I mean, I could be mistaken.
I thought the female he married was a Latina or some type of. She was a non-white person, but I don't think she was black. And she had a miscarriage or something, or the baby died or something, and after that they divorced. I don't think she was black, but you know the one Danielle from, what is that, Real Housewives of something. She's the one. She's kind of scary looking, but she was on the Wendy Williams show talking about how she kissed Prince one time, and it would knock your feet off. And I'm thinking, man, he kisses anything, huh? But I've never heard him attached to a black female in any sort of way, other than maybe music-wise, like working with Shaka Khan, things like that, but never romantically.
Carmen Electra, I guess that don't count.
Carmen Electra's not a black woman.
No, she's not black. But I thought the lady from Egypt was black.
She don't look black.
Well, I thought she was one of them high yellow gals.
She was one of the Diamond. He came out with that album, Diamonds and Pearls. She was one of the dancers. If she was either diamond or pearl, but I was just thinking, like, could you imagine? I don't know what black female that you hold as beautiful, a beautiful dark skin, just next to Prince. I mean, that picture just looked overpowering. And I remember Sheila E. saying that she wanted to basically be, marry Prince. I guess they were sexually, had their little relationship, but as far as like long term, he just couldn't do it. And Sheila E. is strong. She's a strong black, female Puerto Rican or whatever. But I guess she was too much for him, because I was thinking like what how couldn't that work? I mean, Sheila E. Man.
Prince's ego, maybe he has to be the center of attention, like his character in Purple Rain.
That's possible.
Yeah, I do a lot of touring with a lot of artists, and a lot of people that I work for. We've even had some of his roadies that work for us, and of course, there's no doubt about it. Ego plays a lot into it. Oh God, the stories. Oh my gosh. They can go on for days. Some of the things we see. I remember doing the AMA Awards one time, and we went on before Will Smith went on, and Prince was on after us, and we were in during sound check. And this must have been 95, 90, no, probably 97. Time flies. And we saw Prince. It's ego. I'll just put it that way. There's so many stories, but it's a testament. I'm sorry. Oh, it's just a testament of the entertainment industry in and of itself, whether it be Boondocks or Prince, that I haven't seen evidence, and that's why I asked if when you were talking about preparing him, toughing him up for racism, white supremacy. I haven't really seen any stark evidence entertainment industry at all. Like I said, I toured with everyone from Jamie Foxx to the racist white supremacist group Toto, you name it. I've toured. I just got off the tour a month ago, so it's it's quite interesting. I'll just put it this way: racism, white supremacy. I think that's probably probably at its highest degree, and Boondocks, without a doubt, is just from what I've seen, is probably the like Chappelle, probably the what is it, pièce de résistance? Piece de résistance. I think it's just from some of the things that I've seen.
I wanted to make sure I tossed in really quick. I'm going to be quick. Whoever wanted to go, I'm going to be quick. The colorism, one of the black females that I have been fortunate to have contact with reminded me. She asked me about colorism, light skin, dark skin conflict. And you can see that on the Boondocks. I thought the episode Color of Ruckus, where if you pay close attention when all the dark people are dying off at the end of the episode, all the dark people are very much filled with a lot more explicit self-hate, and they are really dislikable characters. And I mean, you see a stark contrast between Ruckus's family, and then when it cuts away, you get to see the Freemans. They're all significantly lighter, and they're here just for entertainment. Like Granddad is pretending to cry at the beginning because he says, "Oh, this is just entertainment." And they leave, and they're kind of like kicking up their heels, like, "Oh, glad we're not all dysfunctional like them." Like they get to prove themselves being attractive against the ugliness of the Ruckus family. It's almost like right out of The Bluest Eye, one of my favorite books. It's almost like right out of that. But I mean, colorism right on display in the Boondocks. I think light skin, dark skin conflict that had absolutely nothing to do with Prince and Sheila E. and what you all were discussing. I'm sorry. Feel free to chat.
It's funny that what you were saying about ego and everything. I was looking up Vanity right now, and it says that he named her that because he saw her as his female reflection.
Wow.
So he renamed her Vanity. Yes. They said her father was African. But yeah, she's a cowbell. Her mother's Polish.
That's what I was saying as far as the dark-skinned males on the show. You see them it seems like he has, you're talking about the black females. It seems like the dark-skinned males, he has a problem. And I was thinking about that earlier because, earlier today, because, I'm not that dark, and I was thinking Aaron McGruder, he we talk about that paper bag test. I mean, I guess he would be a part of what they call them, the brown bags or the paper bag. That they got that organization, you couldn't get in unless you were lighter than a paper bag.
Right.
And I didn't know if I should. I was just thinking today. It's very weird, very weird. I mean, is that supposed to be some type of asset or? And then it coming out in his art. I wonder if he sees that as somehow makes him different. It's just, And I wanted to ask too, to anybody that want to answer, I wanted to ask when that illiteracy was on the show. When you're dealing with art, do you think? I mean, have you ever seen it succeed in countering racism? Any examples you might want to give? And can it?
I remember as a teenager we went to see a stage play called I Ain't Your Uncle, and it was like an answer back to Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin, and they challenged a lot of the racism and stereotypes in there, and I thought it was hilarious. I thought that did a good job of countering racism.
I wonder if Omar Thornton watched the Boondocks.
Art. Do you think art can impact racism, white supremacy in any way? And, I mean, like you said, you have examples of Dave Chappelle. I feel like they haven't really, I kind of feel like they didn't have the wisdom to pull it off. But I just wonder, will we ever see, some art that really, makes a statement and a real one.
What do you mean when you say art? Because depending on what you mean when you say art, this program might qualify as art. Mr. Fuller's cookbook might be art. So what's art?
Yeah, I define art as made by hands, made by man's hands, made by that arm.
I think there have been examples in music, but I think once racist man and woman see a trend, then they quickly kill it. I think there were I think that music, especially hip hop, got a lot of people into counter racism activity in the 80s and 90s, but it's just turned all the way around.
Yeah, I guess I kind of answered my own question, because I definitely see this show as art. I see the code book as art, and ISIS paper as art. So it can be effective, but you have to know what you're doing.
Well, I think a lot of people producing things don't understand the system and how it functions, so that would be the challenge in things being effective to counter racism if you don't understand it,
Right. And Dr. Welsing said it so good. She called it, it's reality. It's how you are you in reality. If you can properly interpret reality, then you got it. If it ain't real, then if it doesn't speak to where you are, who you are, you know what I'm saying? It's like it just doesn't work. So, because I think it can be. I don't know why I brought that. Because this is art. I mean, with illiteracy and the Boondocks, that's made by man, and I just I think maybe I guess I kind of skirted around it, but I think for people that have talent, writing and whatever and things like that, I think they could really do a lot of damage to racism, white supremacy. If they get it, if they get that understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, because I like the song that Gus played in the beginning of the show with them, but as I listened to them talk, I couldn't really pinpoint what their purpose was. Like, because if you can't see that the focus is white supremacy and that it's not some ethereal, mystical something, that it starts and functions with and by a certain group of people for their benefit, like, what are you doing? Like, is it just to condition, victims to live within the system and be comfortable? Or, like, do you know what you're trying to knock down? It was just a little confusing to me.
I'm sorry for interrupting 818. I forgot. I should have been on my job. There should have been a moo cow during that program because I suspect that that would have been interesting information to know if there was any tragic arrangements in the history of illiteracy. And I was thinking precedent, didn't get to it, but that I think would have added some interesting insight on what they had to share. My bad.
From what I've observed, I would say definitely.
I'd put some money on it.
I put some exactly because from what I hear, Asian women ain't checking for them. So, unless they married or they only have one partner or something like that, I would say it's high probability. That's just the way of things, it seems, these days.
One of the things that gets me is that when you were talking about the Boondocks song, okay, and listening to the words, I am the stone that the builder refused, the visual inspiration that made the lady sings the blues. You just get to thinking, I'm a ballad in your box, the bullet in your gun, the inner glow that lets you know to call your brother's son. Now, a lot of this, when I see it, I am and it says like I remain the soldier till the war is won, and then look at what's being portrayed, and it just kind of, I don't know, it's just it's kind of makes you wonder.
I think they started there. I'm sorry. Who was that? I don't know who that was. That 909.
I just will say one word: contradictions. Look for contradictions.
I think they started, I really think they started with good intentions, man. The road to hell paved with good intentions. I really think if you go back and look at some of the first episodes, Hugh's frustration at the R. Kelly trial, he was calling them out. I mean, you're in the ballpark of irritated genie. This is really inappropriate. This is really incorrect. Get your act together, black people. The Return of the King, I really feel like it started a lot closer to the sentiments that song articulates, and then it deviated big time, and the deviation just got more extreme as the program continued, and I don't know what to attribute that to, other than white supremacy, but I don't know specifically what is the cause, but it just seems like that gap between what that song says and what was being depicted on the show just became greater and greater and greater.
Mm-hmm. And the song grabbed me the first time I saw the show.
I just feel like Aaron McGruders came up against racist man and racist woman.
Yep.
Plain and simple. And chose not to go the route of Omar Thornton.
Mm-hmm.
You mean getting a white woman, or do you mean executing suspected rapists?
That is correct.
Which one? Which one?
Oh, executing suspected rapists.
Okay. Just wanted to be clear about that. Just wanted to be clear. Oh, and I did speak with Mr. Fuller earlier this week, and he said no, that was not Mecca, McJ, according to what he has written, because Omar Thornton talked, and that is written explicitly. You're not supposed to be talking about what you're going to do, so no, that would not qualify. I personally didn't think it was Mecca or McJ because the bedroom integration thing, I just couldn't wrap my mind around a non-white person doing Mecca while sleeping with the enemy. I would have maybe started with that person, but, whatever. And I saw a lot of people chatting about that and calling it Mecca or saying that they thought it would be. Non-white people who are informed about the code, that is also a no-no. Non-white people aren't supposed to say anything about it other than you got some dead bodies, how many ever, and that's that. There's not supposed to be any comment about whether it was or wasn't per the code book, but, whatever.
Whether it was Mecca or not?
Correct. There's not supposed to be any discussion about whether it was or wasn't.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I boiled it down to Omar Thornton thought he was eliminating 8 races. Plain and simple. That was his perception. Like it or not, those people are gone.
And somebody got arrested because they said that it was a good idea, or they understood why he did that. Is that true?
Yes, I posted.
Really?
I posted the article on the Facebook group. The Facebook group has kind of taken off. A lot of people are members, like a lot of people members, and they post stuff regularly. So just go, kind of check it out on Facebook. It's linked on the show page. But yeah, I posted a link for it. It was a black male. He was arrested shortly after the shooting, and I think he was just saying that he could understand why Omar Thornton did what he did, and white people, I guess, didn't like that. And he went on to say, he didn't say it was a good thing or that anybody else should do it, but he just, could empathize with why he chose that course of action, and he was arrested.
So what were the charges that they claimed they were arresting him for?
I don't remember the exact charges, and I'm too lazy to look it up, but it's on the Facebook.
And I'm just getting more and more discouraged as I'm online looking for photos of weddings between black males and females, and I'll see a picture of a black female and get excited, scroll down, and she's with a white man. So tragedy. Like, do we get? I mean, I know we do, but it's just, man, the numbers, just what I'm seeing online with these arrangements, and I guess, I don't know, do we think, those of us that do it, do we think it's going to stop racism, white supremacy? Because even like the female that called Dr. Laura, she's still being victimized by them, and her own husband won't protect her.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, you were chopping up for a minute, but I can hear you.
Okay. I had the most interesting conversation earlier this evening. A woman I know, she's in her mid-40s, and she told me her reasons on why she did not date any non-white men. She specifically preferred to date white men ages 60 and older, and her reasons were as follows. One, because of the lifestyle they're able to afford them. So that was the first thing that came out of her mouth. Okay. Let me finish. Let me finish. And then the fact that, black men play too many games. Thirdly, was at the age that white men they tend to be more flexible. More flexible was the term that she used. I asked her what she meant, and she couldn't really articulate that. So it was mind-boggling that she said these things. I mean, she actually was married to a black man initially. She doesn't have any tragic arrangements in terms of any mixed children, but she basically resigns herself to dealing with exclusively white males older than age 60 because of those three things. It's very, very tragic indeed. I'm very confused.
I have not had a personal conversation with this particular female, but I know of a black female who's related to some of my relatives, married to an older white male. He couldn't give her children, so he allowed her to have a child with somebody else, and she had a child with a black man, and he takes care of that child like it was his. But yeah, she speaks about, him doing for her financially and pretty much letting her do whatever she wants, and he's got the money.
I was going to ask you guys, if we're going to put the Boondocks to bed, what's the most powerful, or just, most powerful as far as something that when you think of the Boondocks that comes to mind, most powerful image or something that you heard in all the seasons that when you hear you think of Boondocks, it just comes to mind. What's the first thing that comes to mind, like something that you've seen or heard on the show?
That homosexual jail episode that traumatized me.
I think the last episode of the first season where they started talking about white Jesus and Ruckus and all that, that was a very powerful episode for me. I wish there had been more like that.
The only thing I can remember that probably, hit me, I guess you can say powerful, was when he was trying to save the convict that was on death row. And
same one, same episode.
Right. And he had actually, he was actually saved, because of it just kind of hit me, I was thinking, that was probably the only real, if I could say positive thing that I've ever really seen out of that.
Gus?
I would probably say, at this point, I would still probably have to go with the last episode of season 2 that got banned, the Uncle Ruckus reality show. When it ends and the black male and Ruckus are like, hey, this is all just about, messing up black kids anyway, and I think we can live with that. Like that, I thought that was a pretty powerful episode, even though I think the Boondocks might, be in the same club as all of that by the time it's all said and done. I think BT, I think they had great intentions as well. If you can go back and look at some of the archives from what it looked like some years ago, I think they had great intentions as well and kind of veered from the track as things went along. But, season 2, episode 15, Uncle Ruckus reality show.
Someone had asked about art that they thought was positive, and I had mentioned this on another show before. And it's unfortunate that the only thing I've been able to really find that was consistently positive was a comic book. And it was the Black Panther. It showed a good relationship between a black male and a black female, someone who was acting positively, who stood up to white supremacy, and predictably there was a lot of negative reaction from white fans. But it sold well.
Invisible Man, I can't believe I forgot that just a week ago. I would definitely put that up as art that I think is constructive against racism and white supremacy. I think it's in my top 5. I think it's an excellent example of using art to reveal truth about racism and white supremacy on a lot of levels.
Yeah, Ralph Ellison, he wrote that, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I like him a lot. He got a lot of heat, being called Uncle Tom. Did you hear about the time he broke down and cried? Some Black Panther or some militant called him Uncle Tom, and he ended up breaking down in the kitchen crying, saying he wasn't an Uncle Tom over and over again. But I really appreciated his intellect.
Excuse me, Gus, is that you breathing?
It is not. I don't know who is. I don't know if somebody fell asleep or what, but it is not me. Yeah, I was gonna comment on that, but I'm Gus.
Yeah, I was about to say something vulgar. I caught myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Spook Who Sat by the Door, I would toss that in as well. Actually, books. I think there are quite a few books that are fiction that are excellent resources on racism, white supremacy. Invisible Man, Spook Who Sat by the Door, Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye, 2000 Seasons. There are quite a few that I've read that give you a lot of truth about racism, white supremacy. Space Traders, Derek Bell. We talked about that a few weeks ago. That's another one.
Can I touch on something real quick about black males and these tragic relationships? Do I have enough time?
You got 8 minutes. You all can have the last 8. We'll be back on Wednesday, August 18th. That should be the 200th broadcast. Pam, co-author of Trojan Horse, Justice, Gus T Renegade, will be talking about Omar Thornton, Montana Fishburne, and the white sex assault. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Look forward to it. Something we hadn't touched on, but I want to just share real quick, is that I suspect many, unfortunately, in their victimization, that many black males that are engaging in these sexual relationships with white females have probably been manipulated to engage in sexual activity that they normally wouldn't do. And what I mean by that is this. I can remember in one of my in a couple of my experiments actually, where it was almost suggested I try something different and new. And their idea of trying something different was, putting something up my anus. And I wasn't down for that at all. So I suspect, unfortunately, because the white female will typically do things, and she'll do things, if you ask her to do some things that you probably normally wouldn't ask anyone else, she'll probably try it. But I think at some point, that's coming back on them in the form of, well, hey, why don't you try this? Because, you asked me to do that, and I gave you that. So now I'm asking you to do this. So I actually suspect that many black males that have engaged in these relationships have probably done some things sexually that they're not proud of. Once again, speaking to their victimization.
I mean, white girls, from what I understand, is a high percentage of them that had their first little sexual experience with, their pet or something. You know what I mean? So it's amazing when I went to Cleveland, Ohio. Some of the things that I only heard about. And everybody, and it was just coming clear. Like, people were saying this stuff that I had never, I just thought it was fake. Like, you're just making stuff up. But then it started coming out in conversations with white people. Like, wow, I mean, like, how random is that? Like, the first white person you meet, they say that they're not a man unless they have sex with a black woman. First female, she's talking about how, the dog and the peanut butter, and I'm like, I've heard about this stuff, but like, I mean, it's just like I meet first group of people I meet. It's like, how common is this? So, yeah, I mean, I think they're sicking white females on black men. Actually, I think it's an attack.
Indeed, it is. On tour. And a lot of times, we're on tour buses, and they only hold 12. And a lot of times, there's white and black in the same bus. And that's where I can say I have to give black folk high honor for when they're on these buses, they try to be as moral, for lack of a better term. What I've seen whites talk about and do, it's beyond anything anyone's wildest imagination. And to them, that's a way of life. For us, we would, a lot of us just kind of, turn our heads and go to our bunks and say we don't want to participate. That's.
And like I said, they study study sex between people. They hook them up to machines and let them have sex in these rooms, couples, and they study and see what happens during that act. So when you have sex with when you have sex with somebody, man, and if it's degenerate, man, it affects you big time psychologically. I mean, it ain't nothing you want to play with. Like Dr. Wilson said, sex ain't nothing to play with, and they know it. That's why I think it's an attack, a purposeful attack, because they know what happened to a black female or a black male in that type of arrangement.
Right, which is why I suspect, and I'm only going to speak for black males, that many black males have been, asked or manipulated into doing things that they just normally would not do.
I think that's true from what a friend of mine was telling me about his experience where he was waiting for his cousin to come out the bathroom of a restaurant, and this older white couple was there, and the white woman was basically fielding every black male that came through there trying to pay them to come home with her and her husband for an encounter.
Right. You ain't supposed to have no threesomes. I mean, it's psychologically jacked up to be, in the room with other people while you're having sex. So, I know that's the big thing, with the the white girls and stuff. It's like, it's always the homie, can't have none or something like that. It's like, ugh. I mean, that's that's gay, I guess. I mean, you that's.
Yeah, some of the things that come through their mind, and usually in